Knifes inside for the first down. Keeps fighting toward the end zone. It's a touchdown! Joe Mixon! He throws it deep down the sideline, and it is caught. T. Higgins breaks the tackle. He's at the 10, the 5, touchdown!
Got him in
Bengals!
Play action, Tua rolling to his left, stops. Nobody's open, Joe. He's going to be sacked back in his own territory at the 47-yard line. Tua's down.
He got body slammed. He got thrown down, and they're coming out right now. Jimmy had time to get rid of it. Instead, he gets thrown down hard, and he's not getting up.
Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
Well, for the Bengals, it was a nice night for Tyreek Hill, for Joe Mixon, for Joe Burrow, but there is one thing all of the football world is talking about this morning. It's Tua Tagovailoa. That is where we begin as well. We welcome you to Lunch Money on a Friday. We always love Fridays around these parts. We, of course, are getting set for the weekend. We've got the final look at the upcoming NFL schedule for Sunday. Plus, Ray, we get to talk about Thursday night football. And last night was a game we were looking forward to. And throughout the week, we were kind of wondering, what's the status of Tua? Is he going to play? Is he ready to go? What's the NFL going to say about concussion protocol? Still talking about Tua this morning, Ray. And for anybody who saw it last night, it's kind of an image that probably sticks with you about the dangers of the NFL.
Yeah, it's tough. Everyone's got their opinion. We're not doctors. I gave my opinion on this, after the injury occurred. We talked about it on Monday, and I said, look, if a guy falls over and can't walk, he shouldn't be playing. So that was my take. Unfortunately, the scenario last night occurred. Now there's all the worries about, second concussion syndrome or whatever they call it. What does this mean long term and all of that? And, the good news is he's got movement and all those kind of things. Seems like he's okay physically, but this is a scenario with Tua Tagovailoa that it's possible we could be looking at him missing weeks of action. We could be looking at something significant long term with him too. I guess that's still in play. The Dolphins have claimed all along that, it was a back issue, that he was cleared and all that. It's just a rough scenario. Let's just hope he's okay at the end, right? That's all that really matters. But we hinted at this on Monday, the fact that the league basically screwed up letting him play last week when he couldn't walk in the second half of the game. And then they cleared him to play a game 4 days later. It's rough.
Yeah. Well, and I know people look at 4 days ago or 5 days ago now and then look at Thursday night and they draw the conclusion that they're obviously related. I know that's what the whole world's saying, and that's natural. You say, oh my God, last time I saw this guy, he was kind of stumbling around, and oh my God, look at what happened on Thursday. Very, very natural. Here's the thing, though. None of us know. None of us know. We can all draw that conclusion, Ray, but you just don't know. I'd like to believe, and maybe this is entirely naive, but Ray, I'd like to believe that last Sunday, if he wasn't good enough to be on the field, he wouldn't be out there. Now, that's what I'd like to believe. Again, is naive? Is that what I am right now? Probably. It's 2022. Get a clue, Kyle. But Ray, that's kind of where I stand. What was crazy about last night is we see crazy hits all the time in the NFL. To me, that wasn't one. No. That almost looked, I don't want to say harmless, because it wasn't. Hard hit, you fall down wrong, all that. But Ray, this was not a crushing blow that we see 10 to 15 times every Sunday in the NFL. This was not something where if you were just watching from the stands, you would have said, oh my gosh, what happened? But it still shows it can happen on something that looks fairly innocent.
Yeah, it seemed to me like on live, oh my gosh, that was terrible. And then you watch the replay, and it wasn't that bad. It's a very common hit. His head didn't hit the ground or hard. He had a little bit of a snap, but it wasn't over the top. But the fact is, brain injuries are brain injuries, and we've talked about this forever. We hear concussion and we don't think about it. It's a brain injury, and I'll say for me, I have talked about this for years with you, with the listeners, the followers. People can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at @TheRayFlowers. You can find you and I over at FantasyGuru.com. You can use that code Bettor, Bettor, for a discount. I've said for years that a guy gets a concussion in hockey and he's out 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Guy gets a concussion in football, he's playing 4 days later, 5 days later, 6 days later. It happens all the time. And I don't know. I've never had a concussion, thankfully, so I don't know, what that all entails. And some guys are more prone to concussions. Some guys, unfortunately, get blasted all the time. You run into that. But we do know that there is science behind the idea that, successive hard hits to your head start to add up. And you do become more open to further head injuries and that kind of a thing. So you got to be very careful. And that's always what the old wives' tale, like when you're a kid, you get a concussion, you hit your head, don't fall asleep, like stay up all night, right? That was what we used to say. We know that there are, that this is a significant injury, and, it's a macho, tough game with billions of dollars at stake, and athletes want to play. And I don't know, that the Dolphins are still saying you didn't have a concussion in week 1. They're still sticking to the story, and the league will investigate it to find out. But I return to the point I made on Monday. If you go to walk and you fall over, you should not be playing in a football game, whether you have a concussion or not. They checked him for head injury. They knew he had some kind of head injury, whether it rose to the level of concussion or not. He had a head injury. They knew it. His legs didn't work. They let him return to that game, and they let him play last night, and it's unfortunate.
Well, let's hear from the Dolphins. We've heard from everybody who watched it. We've heard from everybody who has a Twitter account. We've heard from everybody like Ray and I that have a camera and a microphone. Mike McDaniels, head coach of the Dolphins, he was the guy who had to answer the questions last night. And he was asked, of course, about protocol and what went down last Sunday. Here's what he said.
Yeah, otherwise we would have reported him having a head injury. I mean, that's why the NFL has these protocols, and there's not, like every single NFL game that is played, there's an independent specialist that specializes in the specialty of brain matter. For me, as long as I'm coaching here, if there's I'm not going to fudge that whole situation. If there's any sort of inclination that someone has a concussion, they go into the concussion protocol, and it's very strict.
Ray, again, color me naive. I believe what they're saying. Now, the beauty of living in this age that we do, Ray, and the beauty of everybody seeing this and raging about it, there's going to be an investigation. There will be a thorough investigation. I would believe, Ray, if anybody says, hey, this is what I saw on Sunday, or hey, this is what I saw on Tuesday, that will come out. I know everybody wants the answers now. Unfortunately, it's an investigation. You got to talk to a lot of people, a lot of doctors. There's many people involved in this. Ray, I would love to believe, and again, maybe I'll be proven wrong, but I would love to believe if signs were there, he wasn't playing. Now, that puts me in the minority because everybody says, you said it, and most people agree with you. He shouldn't have been out there. I like to believe the experts, color me an idiot. and the independent factor, how independent are these guys? That's a study for another day. I don't know are these guys with the team 7 days a week, or do they just jump on board Sunday morning? Nobody talks to them. Nobody knows who they are. They're totally independent. There's no connection with the coaching staff. I don't know. But Ray, that's what I want. I want a doctor who really doesn't even like football. You want a guy who's a total nerd, Ray, who thinks that cricket is what the real sports are, doesn't know a thing about football. That's who you want as the independent doctor. Now, we've already got in the chat room, oh, you can fake this, you can fake that. Doctors can usually see through that, right? Am I wrong in that? And if you got a concussion, are you able to fake things? If your brain's damaged, are you able to think through that, to fake it? I don't know. But Ray, a lot of people seem to think that a nefarious team, a nefarious NFL, a nefarious doctor and medical staff, like everybody's saying this, the players themselves, Ray, there will be other players interviewed in any investigation. Now, if a totally, you're not telling me 55 players will all take the company line and lie about this, will they? So I don't know. We'll get answers, Ray. They probably won't be satisfactory. And we'll see what occurs. But I do know this. He had a concussion last night. Nobody disputes that. And as you said, you got to be missing a week or two after this. Like, even if he says he's ready or the doctors say, oh, gosh, everything, it ain't going to happen next week for Tagovailoa. Not with this attention that we have on the situation.
Yeah, I'll say this, and just to be clear so that I don't get misconstrued here. There is no way that a doctor is going to send an NFL player out there with a brain injury if he thinks he's got a legitimate brain injury, because that guy goes out and gets severely hurt. That guy, heaven forbid, dies. That guy's life is over. He's getting sued for the rest of his life. He's in jail. I mean, it's not a knee injury. Okay. So I'm not suggesting that the doctors, fudged any test results. I'm not suggesting that at all. So I agree with you on that point. I think, and we've seen this mentioned, that let's assume that everything was done above board, right? Which I think we have to assume is factually accurate. Does that mean the NFL needs to have better rules in place? Because we've all done a lot of things by the letter of the law. And we all know it really wasn't okay. Okay, he passed these baselines, he passed the test, he's good to go. Now you run into this, and we've mentioned his name all the time, Dr. David Chow. We've talked to him for years. He was an NFL doctor for almost 2 decades. We had all kinds of discussions with him for years about this and that, and this and that. And my impression, Kyle, and correct me if you got a different sense from our discussions, is the doctor, it seemed to me that he always had the ability to say no.
Mm-hmm.
And, even when the players said yes, even when the coach said yes, the doctor could still say no. So if the player was cleared, and he was cleared to go back in the game, he was cleared to play in this game, whatever the baselines are, I'm assuming he met them. My concern is the baselines aren't right.
Yeah.
Again,
well, that's very fair, Ray.
Yeah.
I totally agree. This and that probably is what emerges out of this, is they change the protocol and maybe they strengthen the reasoning for keeping a player off the field. Maybe that is what follows. Now, the other part of this, Ray, and I guess the frustrating part of me, and this again speaks to who are the people there actually in the room handling the situation, the trained professionals, all that. Everybody wants immediate yeses and nos, rights and wrongs. That is the world we live in. Why? I can't believe this. Tell me now. I want it now. Everything's now. We had a situation about 2.5 years ago in this entire country where people would get furious because an answer they got 2 weeks ago about something that people had never really seen, had never really studied, all of a sudden the answer or the explanation became different a few weeks later as more information was gathered. People got pissed off at this. They said, well, you told me this 3 weeks ago. Now you're telling me this. And it's like, this is not something that we've been dealing with for 4,000 years and that millions of people have studied. Eventually, we hope you put enough powerful minds in that room, you get enough evidence, all that, you get answers you can feel good about. Ray, this is a totally inexact science, this concussion stuff. Mm-hmm. It's not like a broken bone. So we're working on it. We're trying to get our answers. We're trying to get, I don't think anybody is trying. And I get this a lot in the NFL that, the NFL doesn't care. And, all these guys, who cares? Just let's let them, they throw these guys in the trash as soon as they get hit. And I get it. It's football. That's going to happen. Ray, the NFL, to their credit, has, and maybe it's just a bunch of PR, they've done a lot of things over the last decade. They have altered a lot of things. So I would suggest this will probably be altered too, and that things will change moving forward. I think this situation, if nothing else, Ray, maybe saves the next 45 players that are dealing with concussion symptoms. And maybe that's the silver lining, I guess, in all of this from last night.
Yeah, and just to be clear, we've said it, you said it, it's been in the chat already. It's a brain injury. Okay, we're not talking about a broken finger. We're not talking about a torn ligament. It's a brain injury. And yeah, it sucks when you see these pro football players at 55 and they can't walk. I've seen them, right? They can't, their legs are shot. That sucks, but it's a brain injury. And you don't always come back from brain injuries. Mm-hmm. Like there's been a lot of, the CTE and all that. There's been a lot of stuff about this. So you need to have rules. And if the rules are in place to the point where guys should be okay to play, but they're not allowed to play, I'm okay with that. And everyone should be okay with that. Like, I understand it with 17 games, we want to win football games and all that, but these are people's lives. People that have had serious concussion issues, even ones that haven't, gone off the deep end and had issues later in life, some of them have horrible headaches. Some of them, have light sensitivity. Some of them vomit all the time. Some of them have nausea all the time. Some of them have vertigo. Like, it's bad. There are players that get concussions in all the sports, and their life is never the same. They can't even do normal. They couldn't do this show because they couldn't have the lights on and be staring at a camera for 3 hours. It's bad. So we need to make sure that whatever rules are in place are there to protect the players, because ultimately the athlete's going to say he's okay. He doesn't know everything. He's not a brain scientist. He's going to say he's okay. We need to sometimes stop the athletes if there's a chance beyond the normal chance of football. If there's an increased chance of there being a significant long-term injury.
Ray, if you had told me Sidney Crosby would still be playing hockey in 2022, if you'd told me that like 8-9 years ago, I would have said, hell no. Mm-hmm. Like, that is a guy, Ray, a superstar athlete who dealt with it for like 3-4 years of trying to overcome it. And Luckily, I can't recall in the last 3 or 4 years he's had another concussion, but that's like a superstar level player. Our chat room mentions Junior Seau. There are guys seemingly, and this is almost disheartening to even think, but Ray, literally like every 4 or 5 months, unfortunately, we hear about an ex-NFL player who's suffering, or people claim he was suffering from CTE. You know, he became a totally different player, or totally different personality change at age 45, and you know, had fallen on hard times and all that. We hear it every 4 or 5 months, and it is the sport, and it's an awful problem for the sport, but it is the sport. And I don't know, Ray, we sit here also, and some of the same people who complain about last night are the same people who complain about there's no hitting. We're protecting quarterbacks too much.
Right.
It's a lot of give and take in this sport. We've got to understand there is a imminent threat all the time in this sport. But because of that danger, honestly, because of that danger, Ray, it appeals to people. It does. This is base fandom. This is base entertainment. It's exciting. It's scary. It's all these emotions. And then we have something like last night, which brings the human element back into it. My guess will be 3-4 weeks from now, we're still selling out stadiums. We are still putting up the biggest TV numbers in the world, and everybody is back to enjoying football. That would be my guess, just like it's been for the previous 20 years.
Yeah, and there have been, I mean, significant injuries in the course of the NFL, right? I mean, guys paralyzed and all kinds of horrible things happen. Head injuries can cause death, like straight up. And that, you know, short of that, like you said, we've had all these injuries. Ryan Shazier, all these guys have been hurt, and the league keeps going. If someone dies, that calculus changes.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's something to think about here too. And I'm not suggesting 2 is anywhere near. I'm just saying that there's a certain amount of danger, certain amount of injury the players are willing to accept, the fans are willing to accept, but there's a line. And if that line gets crossed, things change dramatically. Let's just hope that we don't ever see that in our lifetime.
Well, and we should note, Ray, too, has been released. He was out of the hospital last night. Hell, he flew back with the team, according to what I've seen, Ray. So you know, that on the surface, Ray, when you see it, what happened at what time was that? I don't know, 9:30 last night. And then he's flying back with the team, I'm guessing at 1:30. It's crazy. Like it doesn't compute, Ray. That situation, frightening when you see it. But Ray, almost everybody who studies this stuff says it happens pretty often on you know, fighting, you know, people just fighting or boxing or getting hit in football. And then literally like 4 or 5 hours later, it's not that you're back to normal, but you're back and able to go about your life for the most part. Tua Tagovailoa is probably sitting and relaxing, trying to do his best, hopefully not fighting off headaches, but probably is. And he's probably, honestly, Ray, thinking about the next snap he's going to take in the NFL. He's probably ready to go with that next snap. But again, it's probably going to be a few weeks from now. But I saw that he flew back, and I was stunned by that, Ray. Like what we saw on the field versus 5 hours later, heading back to Florida was just crazy to me.
Yeah, and I told the story earlier this week about, you know, I was a big kid, and I played baseball and basketball, and they wanted me to play football, and my dad was a football star growing up and all that. I never wanted to play football. It was never, you know, I didn't want to go get beat up, to be quite honest. So I don't have the mindset of a football player. Never have. It's just not me. But I'd like to think, you know, if I was playing any other sport, if I was playing baseball, if I got hit in the head twice in 3 days by pitches, I'm not jumping on an airplane that night. Me, no. I mean, maybe I look at things different. And the doctor says you're fine. I'd be like, thanks. I'll fly myself home. I'll rent a car. Like I don't know, man. The NFL's doctors are as good as probably any doctors in the world. It's the truth, right? So if they're clearing this guy and he's passing all the tests, and then that goes back to the baseline. Are there concerns? And let's be honest, I'm talking out my ass. I don't know.
Yeah, we all are.
Yeah.
And Ray, I just want to state that everybody is. You know, yeah. I keep hearing the anger and the, you know, it's got to be this way. And I get it. You know, it's fun to throw tomatoes at the NFL and hate on Roger Goodell, and I get it. I'm not excusing what happened, but it's the nature of the beast. The players know it, all this stuff. We just hope it improves. And I would say, Ray, again, in the last 15 years, it has improved exponentially. You know, they're doing, I think they're doing their best. They're trying to care. They're trying to fix it. It's not like they're ignoring it. So we'll see where it goes, and maybe we find out something. Maybe somebody, broke the oath, if you will. And I would suspect we'll find that out if it does occur. Now, we'll mostly leave that to the side. Like I said, thankfully, Tua appears to be as good as you could have ever expected, coming off what we saw in the scene on the field last night. But there was a lot going on in this game. So, of course, Ray and I will talk it over, and we'll get you set for week number 4, the remainder. We got a lot of news on injuries that we got to get to. We'll start with the lunch menu, Ray. Appetizer. Where are you starting with your thoughts on this Friday?
Yeah, I'm talking injuries, not as significant as a head injury here, and this is a little piling on, and it's not a victory lap by me, but it's a little piling on. I will admit this, but I just want to reemphasize. We've heard so much of late, the last couple of weeks. We've been talking here on the show, seen it over in Discord at fantasyguru.com, all the back and forth, people making waiver wire moves, people making trades. And part of the reason people are making trades and making moves on the waiver wire is because people are making mistakes. They're dropping players they shouldn't have dropped, right? They're making dumb decisions, and we're taking advantage of that here at BSN. Hopefully the people listening are taking advantage of people that don't quite get it. But then there's a second level of things. And the second level is a lot of people are making trades because they're in trouble, right? And it's not just that they're 0-3, it's that the roster's not looking good. And two of the reasons why people's rosters are now in trouble are Michael Thomas, and Christian McCaffrey. What are you doing? Michael Thomas has already been ruled out for action this week. He's not going to play. Here we go again with Michael Thomas. Christian McCaffrey, we heard it was not a big deal. Now all of a sudden it's like threat level 4. It's like we think he's going to give it a go. He doesn't really
help me here. I lose track. Is it now 3? Pretty well. I know going into week 1 he was not on the injury report.
Right.
But every other week, I guess he's missed practices, and 2 of the 4 he's been on the injury report. Do I have the numbers right on Christian McCaffrey?
I think you do, and if I'm not mistaken, there's been 3 body parts that have already been mentioned. Now it's a quad. So my appetizer, the lead here is stop doing what you're doing. We beg with everyone all preseason not to draft players that have this profile, right? And well, Ray, you said Juju Smith-Schuster and he struggled. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm right about players. I'm not saying that Ray from on high has always got the answer. No. But what I'm saying to you is this type of player in particular, a veteran who has missed a lot of time over 2 years, should not be someone that you're counting on. And the absolute insanity of drafting Christian McCaffrey in the first round. Then that's at the start. He was like a 10th round pick at the start of draft season. Then it was 5th. Then it was 3rd. He was going first in drafts right the week before the season. What are you doing? So please remember this. This is a PSA. Please remember this next year. And it's not, again, that Ray's always right and you're always wrong. Not what I'm saying. But when you have players that are constantly injured, when you have players missing more than half the games over 2 years, stop drafting them.
Yeah. Well, and most people, because of how they draft Ray, it's fairly evident they don't care. They just like to complain after the fact.
That's kind of what it seems like.
Oh, man. Christian McCaffrey.
My team would have been so good.
Yeah, my team would have won first place, and the McCaffrey went down. So people are very good at complaining. They're pretty awful at prepping. And Ray, you know where I'm going with this. To me, there has been no bigger disservice in our world than this saying that you can't predict injuries.
Yeah, you're right.
Because that's what people fall back on. Oh, you can't predict injuries. Oh, you can't. Like the Tua thing. Some people now will say, oh, I could have predicted that. Well, I guess you can predict injuries then? Make up your mind, people. Can you predict them or not? And what I have said, Ray, is, okay, I'll give you. You can't predict injuries. You know what? You can sure as hell expect them. And Christian McCaffrey, Michael Thomas, these are expected injuries, okay? This should be part and parcel. Dalvin Cook, you've talked about it a ton, Ray. He's not going to play 16, 17 games. You should know when you draft him, he's playing 14 or 13. You hope he's getting there. You've said it with DeAndre Swift. You should expect injuries, okay? You should expect those. What I don't expect is Tom Brady to be down for 8 weeks with an injury. You know why? Because he always plays. That would be an unexpected injury. When you draft a guy who literally is always out there 16 games a year, expecting injuries is actually pretty simple. But people say, well, I can't predict them, so I'm just not going to care about them. And I think that's when the trouble arrives. And Ray, here's the other thing. You're going to have to draft injury-prone guys. You are, okay? That's another one. People are injury-prone. Can we just... I know I'm pissing people off with that one, Ray. Oh, staying healthy isn't a talent. Sure as hell is. It absolutely is. Staying healthy in your life is a talent. Believe me, it is. What situations do you put yourself in? That's a talent. Staying healthy. That's how you do it. So, Ray, this injury thing, it's never disappearing. I don't care what the NFL does. I don't care how we change standards. We're always going to have injuries, and it's pretty rough this week. Like you mentioned, Thomas, it's looking okay for Cook, but Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be out. Alvin Kamara is probably playing, but Jameis Winston is out. So there's a lot of guys missing time. And I will say this, Ray, we won't look back and say, oh my God, week 4 was so bad. Week 4 is the beginning, Ray. It's what we're seeing this week is pretty well going to be every week from now to the end of the season.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And again, this is not gloating. It's not a victory lap. It's just we're trying to have a conversation here to, educate people that there's a right and a wrong way to do this. And like Kyle said, we're all going to take players that have injury risk because every NFL player has injury risk. If we're, it's just the baseline you're playing in the NFL. But some guys are able to play through it. Maybe some guys have been fortunate. I don't know. Okay, that's all fair. And everyone's healthy until they get hurt. Okay, I get it. But purposely drafting guys that you're dependent upon to be in your starting lineup every week that have a higher likelihood than not of getting an injury is just a mistake. Taking Kadarius Toney in the 13th round if you want to do it, cool. Taking Christian McCaffrey in the first round, no. Like, what are you doing? So it's always about risk and reward. But I think in the case of McCaffrey and Thomas in particular, which is why I brought it up, we had 2 years of this. 2 years. And people seem to think, and I don't know where this comes from, 2 years after guys are out of the NFL, they're selling cars. This is not the NFL. And we talk about the conveyor belt. You talked about it earlier with the injuries. You go and you go and you go and you can't go. You're gone. Somehow people think that, these high-end elite athletes like Thomas and McCaffrey are so much better than everyone else. They're so much more talented than everyone else that they can basically not really play for 2 years and then year 3 return and be that former guy. When does that happen in the NFL? When? And the answer is it doesn't. The line between I say this all the time, greatness and good is this much. The difference between good and okay is this much. The difference between okay and out of the NFL is this much. And when you talk about guys missing 2 years, they lose this much. What does that do? Drops them down an entire tier.
Yeah, it was an argument I made constantly with Derrick Henry in the preseason, especially at running back. When it starts, folks, it doesn't stop. When the injuries are knocking them out for multiple games or months, it's not like they come back and they return to what they were. That position, again, chews you up, spits you out. It's immediate. So you start seeing it at running back, you just bail. You just move on. You just find somebody else younger to draft. My appetizer, speaking of guys who get injured, speaking of the running back position, Ray, I was totally correct on Chase Edmonds, and I was totally incorrect on Chase Edmonds. Ray, he scores another touchdown last night. He's junk. He's not getting used. Even when he's used, he's not doing anything. But Ray, lo and behold, I guess he's an RB2 through the first month of the season. His points say he is. And we'll see. Maybe there's a bunch of big performances this week and he drops out of the top 25. But Ray, I feel he's probably going to be there after 4 weeks. And it's one of the most misleading starts to a season. 4 weeks ago, people were saying he's the guy to have in that Miami backfield. It's really evident, Ray, he isn't. He's not the guy who's getting the work. And when he gets the work, I mean, he's got 28 carries this year and has 85 yards. That is horrendous. That is a dreadful number. But after another touchdown last night, he's got 3 scores on the year. Here's the thing with Edmonds. He's not only failing to produce, but he's losing snaps and touches to Raheem Mostert.
Absolutely.
Beyond that, Ray, I mean, his touches, even with Arizona, think about this. He left Arizona. He signs with Miami. You go out, you get a guy, you're going to use him. They're not even using him to the level of the Cardinals. Last year, he averaged 4.5 touches more per week than he's getting with Miami. And I guess, Ray, the only way he retains value is if Mostert gets injured, which is probably a good bet. Mostert is no great shakes either. I'm glad I was reminded there in the chat room. Here's another thing to hammer Edmonds on. Like, he should have had another touchdown. Like, he dropped an easy touchdown catch in the first quarter in the corner of the end zone from Tua. Tua started celebrating because he knew it was going to be caught, except for the fact that Chase Edmonds just isn't that good and dropped the football. So, Ray, I guess to his credit, they're using him. He's getting the opportunities inside the 10, but obviously he should be a trade high, trade now kind of candidate for fantasy players.
Absolutely. I mean, last night he played 18 snaps. Mostert played 46. Last night he had 10 fewer touches. He didn't even have half the touch count of Mostert. The last 2 weeks, Mostert has played 70 snaps. Edmonds 37. Last 2 weeks, it's 25 touches for Mostert, 14 for Edmonds. Edmonds isn't playing much. He's not touching the ball much. The backfield is Raheem Mostert's until Mostert
inside the 10 though.
They're sharing work in there.
Yeah, and I guess that's the okay. Let's forward the story. Gosh, Ray, is he a flex just because of the touchdown potential, or is that, to me, he's not? I've got to be in really dire strait, bye weeks, those kind of things. To me, despite this start, Ray, he's kind of a bench guy. I don't feel comfortable having Chase Edmonds as an RB2 or as a flex on my fantasy team.
Yeah, the real issue is there's twofold issue. One, you can't let him go. So let me be very clear about this, because people are going to hear this, cannot let him go, because Raheem Mostert is another one of these guys we were just talking about. He's going to get hurt. Okay. Raheem Mostert will miss time with his knees. It's pretty much a guarantee. So you can't drop him. Two, he's going to be involved as part of this offense. But I think you need to look at him more long-term. He is more in the J.D. McKissick zone. Like he's more in the Naheem Hines zone than he is someone that's going to be in your lineup every week with confidence. Why? Because as long as Mostert's there, he's the first and second down back. We're seeing it in the snaps. We're seeing it in the touches. We're seeing it in the carries. That's what they're going to do. And this is not a surprise. They gave him starter money, Edmonds, when they signed it, but then they brought in Mostert. I mean, this is, and we've joked around. Ted Schuster over at fantasyguru.com. He's like, I can tackle Chase Edmonds. Like, he's more of a scat back. So he is someone that's going to be tough to trust on a weekly basis. You cannot count on the touchdowns continuing. When the touchdowns dry up, he then becomes a guy that you're going to want to drop in 3 weeks, right? Because then the production's going to go in the tank. But then again, remember that we've got Mostert and his lack of ability to play week after week. So don't start him with confidence, but certainly don't drop him either, Kyle.
Yeah, and again, I don't think that backfield will ever be settled. Said it in the preseason. I'll say it now. It's just going to be a constant carousel. Some weeks you want this guy. Some weeks you want that guy. I think we're going to be guessing a lot with this Dolphins backfield. In fact, there will be a third guy at some point here in 2022. Moving from the appetizers to the main course and the sides. Main course injuries. Like Ray already mentioned a couple. You got Christian McCaffrey, truly questionable. Michael Thomas is out. We got a few other guys who are out. Lineups are changing. We will tell you how to handle it going into week 4. In terms of sides, got some more week 4 games to preview, including Tampa Bay and Kansas City. We will go on the record and make our picks against the spread. Ray, we were over 500 last week. We did well last week. So we'll try to keep that streak moving. Obviously, more thoughts on the Bengals and their 12-point win over Miami. We will talk some college football today. Austin Nace is going to join us from campus to Canton. You can catch him and the crew every Saturday morning right here on the Bettor Sports Network at 8 a.m. We will take a preview of the weekend to come in college football. We got the lunch hunch. We've got Duke's Den. We'll check in on prices if you want to watch history this weekend at Yankee Stadium. Could get home run 62 tonight for Aaron Judge. If you want to go to that game, we'll tell you what it would cost you. I'll be honest with you. It's less than I thought it would be, to tell you the truth. So we'll hit on that. Of course, we also have the bet du jour on today's menu. Ray, what is the bet of the day?
The bet du jour is we're going to baseball, going to Brady Singer. Brady Singer is a plus 100 to have 4.5 strikeouts against the Guardians today. Now, I know that the last time that Singer faced the Guardians, he had 1 strikeout in 6 innings. Oh, let's not panic. Singer's basically been a strikeout and inning guy this season. And why is that important? He has gone 6 innings in 18 of 19 starts, which in 2022 baseball is remarkable. So he's going 6 innings.
Very remarkable, right?
It is. Who is it, Kyle? Tim and Framber Valdez. You know it. It's unfortunate.
8 of 19.
18 of 19.
Oh,
Did I say 8?
18.
I
Okay,
said 8.
okay.
I
18.
misspoke.
That is remarkable.
Okay.
I stand corrected. Okay.
And maybe I said it wrong. It's 18 of 19. So yes, only missed once. So he's going 6 innings every time out, 7 innings. So all he has to do is be who he is to get 5, 6, 7 strikeouts. And again, it's 4.5. So I'm in. It's a plus 100. I think, he's one of the few guys that we're looking at this point in time. And I'm also not worried about him getting pulled at 72 pitches because we're at the end of the season. He's going to go out there, throw his 6 innings, and he'll get over 4.5 strikeouts.
Okay. Fridays, I always like getting my hands dirty with some college football. So let's get my hands dirty with some college football. Tomorrow, one of the early games, number 4 Michigan is taking on Iowa in Iowa City. Here's the bet du jour. Take the under of 42 points. Now, if you know anything about college football, Michigan has been scoring heavily in their first 4 games. Like the first 3 games, they were over 50 in both of them. Last week, they were over 30. So you might say, why take the under? Okay, I'm taking the under because Iowa, who's the home team here, has a good defense, and they don't have a clue on offense. They could give up 35 points to Michigan. I don't know if the Hawkeyes can score 7. I actually think that this game is going to be played in the 20s and teens for both sides. Iowa is a team that, when they welcome a top 5 team into town, they're good against them. Check this out. Last 6 times that a top 5 team has come to Iowa, that top 5 team has left with a loss 5 of them. 5 of 6.
Huh.
Kirk Ferentz has coached all those games. He's obviously coaching this one. Again, even if Michigan scores, I don't think Iowa can score in that. They're 128th in the nation in scoring. Last week, but Kyle, they scored 27 against Rutgers. The defense scored 14 of those 27. Iowa just can't score. They can't. So give me the under here. I think they can slow down Michigan. I still don't think they're going to score. If they pull off the upset, maybe it's like a 13-10 win. That could happen. But give me the under at minus 110 on that bet du jour. We've got more college football bets coming your way. I'm not done. I got a lunch hunch too a bit later in the show. In terms of dessert, Ray, were you ever a big Barney, the purple dinosaur fan?
I know who Barney is. Barney just had the anniversary thing, yeah. But no, I was never watched. I think it was it after? I'm old. I don't know. Maybe
yeah. Thankfully, you and I aged out of
Yeah.
Barney before he became a thing.
Yeah. Okay.
But those who are maybe 5-10 years younger than us, they probably spent hours watching Barney. For dessert today, I'm going to tell you about a new doc that is out on Barney.
Yeah, I saw that. Mm-hmm.
Where he loved everybody, and let's just say it's a reminder that not everybody loved him. So we'll get to that before we close things down. Closing our menu down, Ray, we have our drink of the day. What are you enjoying as we go through this edition of Lunch Money?
Yeah, you know how I do it, Kyle. We're going to beer here, and we're doing a Benedictor Hell. You'll get it in a second. Here we go. There's the
Benedictor Hell.
Yeah. Oh, where's it? Come on.
An interesting way of spelling Benedictor. That must be the Germanic spelling.
Yes, there it is. So there's the little Helles lager. It's a lager, obviously. It's a pint. Bavarian style, as you can see there on the little tab at the top. It's got the little monk there. But yeah, it's a nice little, same thing on both sides. Sorry, this one doesn't have a cool backside, Kyle. It's the same thing.
So this appears to be a very German beer, but let me guess, Ray, it's probably produced in Paso Robles, California.
Let's see where it's actually. Yeah. Where's this thing? Huh. No, I think it's actually produced in Germany.
Oh, really? It's authentic.
Yeah. Because it's all in German. No, here we go. You're right. I misread this. It's an independent premium brand. It's produced in accordance with German purity. Yeah, it's from Germany. Yeah.
Okay.
Look at that.
That German purity thing. You know what that means, Ray? And I don't trying to think what style of beer this is for, but there is one style of beer in Germany that to be produced under their standards, it has to be within like 500 yards of a church.
Is that true?
Yeah, the beer has to be brewed
Wow.
within X amount. It may be less than 500 yards, but it's like within spitting distance of a
Wow.
church, of a cathedral. And that makes it produced under the purity laws of Germany. So
Wow.
there is a style of beer that you want it made close to a church.
That's very. I know wine with. I guess those monks had a lot of free time, so they were doing a lot of alcohol
Like
there.
Parmesan cheese, Ray. How much of the Parmesan cheese you eat is actually produced in Parmesan, the region? None of it.
Right.
None of it. But it's become generic, and people just call it Parmesan cheese, even though
I
it's
do love
nothing
Parmesan cheese, though.
my drink, and I thought of this morning. It was one of the first thoughts I came up with, Ray, as I awoke, which probably indicates I have a problem.
Okay.
But the first thing I was thinking of this morning is there was certainly a chill in the air, and I even if I lost my sense of, well, it wouldn't even be touch; it would just be a sense of feeling, like a knowing of your body. Even if I lost that ability, Ray, I would never fail to know when fall has arrived, because fall has officially arrived in my household when my wife begins complaining about me leaving the windows open overnight.
Too cold. Okay.
Yes, there's a major issue in the Elfrink household. We're on the second floor. We have 4 beautiful windows that we sleep under. And Ray, on cool fall nights, there is nothing more pleasant to me than to crack the windows. This is not full blown, Ray.
Okay.
And it's probably more than a crack. It's maybe
that's
six high.
Okay, foot high.
6 to 8 inches.
Okay.
6 to 8 inches.
Okay.
And it's only my window. It's not all 4 of them. I'm not like, bringing in the air conditioner from outside. So I enjoy this. This is my thing in the fall.
Okay.
And hey, if it's in the 40s, I don't do it. 50s is kind of the limit. But Ray, the complaints have begun. I am now being blamed for my scratchy throat, my cough. It's my fault because of the 6 inches of window that is open. All of this leads to my drink, believe it or not. So it's fall. It's feeling good. It's crisp outside. Ray, when it's like this, a little hot apple cider.
Ooh.
Good stuff. Like legit apple cider. I don't know if you have orchards in your neck of the woods. You probably do. But orchards around these parts, mostly in Illinois, they grow a lot of apples across the river. It's a big thing to go apple picking. And they make apple cider and apple this, apple that. And Ray, hot apple cider on a cool morning or a cool night, preferably with a bonfire blaring, preferably with, vodka next door that you can pour into it.
Oh, okay.
Hot apple cider. We're going virgin apple cider today.
Okay, be clear about
hot
that.
Apple cider will be my drink that I will virtually enjoy.
Interestingly enough, in my household, the window situation is exactly reversed. My partner, she always wants the windows open. She wants it to be like 52 degrees when we sleep. So we have the exact opposite.
That's why you have blankets, Ray. That's why you have covers. If you want it 75, get rid of the blankets and just sleep on top of the bed.
Well, no, see, I don't want it 75. I just don't like it when it gets so. I don't have any hair, so it gets cold at night. You lose the heat. You lose
wear a sock cap. That's what they did back in the golden
days, right?
Because
Because I think you lose like 18% of your heat out of your head or something like that. So when it's cold and your head's the only thing that's out of the blankets, I need a sock and cap. You're right. I need to do that.
Yeah. But so you're the guy who complains about it being too chilly in the morning.
Well, yeah, but not like I don't want it. If I don't want it 75, but it's just like when it's 65, we're good.
Okay, you're the first, and I've got a lot of friends who say their wives complain about the same thing. You're the first I've run across where the male in the household is complaining about it.
Yeah, special.
Always keeping us on our toes. One Ray Flowers. Okay, there we go. Menu is out, so you know what we're doing. We're going to be with you until 3:00 today. We invite you to chat us up. I know already people are coming with questions, with comments. We love hearing from all of you. It's a big week. They're all big weeks, right? Anytime you're playing fantasy football, DFS, whatever it may be, looking at wagers, big weekend, and it's a fun weekend. So much going on. We got baseball nearing the finish line. We've got college football. We've got the NFL. EPL is back in our lives. I know Duke is going to join us in a bit. He's got some EPL picks. So we are locked and loaded, hanging out until 3:00. As always, appreciate you joining us on the Bettor Sports Network app. We remind you to always hit that fun button if you're having a good time following what we do here. If you are new to what we do here, Ray and I are with you every Monday through Friday, 12 to 3:00. We get rolling at 7 a.m. on the network, taking it into the evening hours. We got the weekends covered, college football. We got the NFL. We do it all at the Bettor Sports Network, and we do it all for free. Well, not for free. We do it for you for free. You get to enjoy it for free. Ray gets all the money, and I just kind of beg for pennies that fall from his pockets. Yeah, that's kind of what I do here. I want to thank our producers. We got Heather Klein, and then Jared Moore is with us today. Brian Drosden needed a break. Finally said enough is enough after a full month of these guys. Give me a break. So Droz has a day off, but Heather and Jared helping us out. We've got a lot to get to, so I better shut up. We'll take a timeout here. We'll hand it off to the den. When we come back, injury news. A lot of things shaken already as we get set for Fantasy Football Week 4. A lot of times we have to wait until the news comes out, say, at 11 a.m. on Sunday. Not this week. We're getting a lot of news on a Friday. We'll tell you what's shaken there when we return. Stay with us. More of Lunch Money right here on the Bettor Sports Network.
Good afternoon, Bettors. It's your boy Duke back in kind of better than ever. I don't know. I got a ton of sleep last night. A little sick yesterday. I got about 8.5 hours of sleep, so I guess better than ever, but hopefully I'm still your boy. 0-2 last night. Presented to you, as always, by FantasyGuru.com. Welcome back to Duke's Den, where we try to make you money. I knew some regression was coming. We're on the wrong side of both games last night. Let's start in the NFL. Obviously, Bengals hammer the Dolphins 27-15. Not enough points for us to hit that over. Let's break this down a little bit. Number one, we're trying to get on the right side of the number every time, which we did in this case. We bet over 47. It got bet up to 48.5. Midweek, I talked about it yesterday. The Bengals got pushed to -4 versus coming back to the Dolphins, at +3 from that wonky 3.5 number. It comes out Tua has cleared concussion protocol because it was just a back injury, right? It wasn't a head issue. Come on, it's a back injury. He's practicing. He gets filmed at Nippert Stadium. All of a sudden, that number comes back down to 3.5 before the game. I'm thinking, okay. And we got Joey Burrow. This is definitely going to hit. Well, as we all saw, and as we all hope, Tua recovers from that nasty head injury he had last night. A classic fencing response once his head hit the turf. And that brought up another thing for me. Is number one, obviously, we hope Tua's okay. Number two, that killed our bet, essentially. Teddy Bridgewater serviceable. He's not an over guy. But number three, why isn't there more padding on the back of the helmet? Because obviously, two cars crashing together that we see so often in the NFL is going to cause, some damage potentially. We know it's a dangerous sport. But to fall and bang your head, like a lot of the impacts are just banging your head on the ground from wide receivers, running backs, but especially quarterbacks. And that slinging motion that he got tackled with is maybe something we should take a look at. And for you hardos who were like, it's the NFL, don't change it. We used to be able to smoke on airplanes. We didn't have airbags in cars until like 2000. We can improve and still enjoy the sport that we all love. So I'm not a doctor. I don't know how it's going to work. I can't believe that he was cleared to play this quickly and to have a second concussion, allegedly, this quickly in succession. Not good for his long-term health. So hopefully Tua's okay. That's a much bigger story than us losing a little bet, whatever. But how about this Utah State BYU game? Because confusing as hell. Number one, Utah State scores on the opening drive, but then we, BYU, drive right down the field, punch it down their throats. The next drive, we get a pick six. I'm like, this is exactly how I thought it was going to go. 14-7, we're cruising. Utah State gets the ball back, punts, let's go. But then 3 consecutive 3-and-outs for BYU where they amass a total of -9 yards. Second half, much more like it. 2 touchdowns, a couple of missed field goals. We should have got there, but we didn't. 0-2. I'll get it back in the next couple hours. More bets coming. You guys stay tuned. Here's Ray and Kyle. Adios.
Third and 5. There's the snap to Goff. Back in the pocket, rolling right, being chased, throws, end zone. Yes! Touchdown, Detroit Lions! Oh, baby, that is big-time stuff. Amon-Ra St. Brown had to go up to get it, and he did it.
It's always lunchtime here. Now back to Kyle Elfrink and Ray Flowers.
It has been a fantastic start to the year for Amon-Ra St. Brown, but unfortunately, that great start won't continue this weekend. We welcome you back to Lunch Money. Kyle Alfred, Ray Flowers, hanging out with you on a Friday. Ray, we are getting a lot of injuries on this Friday morning, and we start with Detroit, who's got a winnable game in front of the home fans coming up on Sunday. Seattle's coming to town, but we kind of were working under the perception that there would be no DeAndre Swift, and that's still shaping up to be the case. But Ray, we kind of got a sneak attack here with Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is going to be out for Sunday.
Yeah, I write about this every week. My article comes out on Thursdays at fantasyguru.com, my matchup piece, look at the week. And, I mentioned in there he's got the knee issue and he's missing practice time, but it did not seem like there was a huge level of concern. I mean, he played through it last week, didn't look great, but we knew that the knee was an issue. But yeah, boom, here it is. Good news is it's now, right? It's not Sunday morning and everyone's scrambling. It's Friday morning. We found out Amon-Ra St. Brown is out. Obviously, bad news for fantasy squads. When you have a down game, you still catch 6 passes. You're a pretty valuable player. So the Lions are likely to be without Swift, and they're going to be without St. Brown. So they're damaged offensively heading into this matchup.
Well, even DJ Chark, Ray, he's been limping around this week. I think he'll play, but all of a sudden you're looking at, these are legitimate pieces to the Lions puzzle. And I guess you can say, wow, this makes Jamal Williams even more of a play. Perhaps. I kind of wonder about the passing attack here. I think a lot of people earlier in the week were expecting Goff to have another big game. He's been so good at home. Like his last 10 games at home, he's been like an all-pro passer. The matchup with Seattle was kind of friendly. That's really out the window now. I felt good about Goff, say, 3 days ago. Now I think it's just another Jared Goff week where you'd prefer he'd be on your bench than to have to turn to the guy.
Yeah, it's tough. As much as it's next man up mentality in the NFL, your two, most talented, most obvious difference-making type of players now could both be out. And that changes the calculus with Goff, because Goff is not an elite level talent, right? He's more of a game manager that makes hopefully good decisions and leads an offense to success that way. But without Brown and potentially without Swift, you should be reconsidering whether or not he's in your starting lineup. That's totally fair.
So Detroit's got some missing talent. New Orleans has missing talent. Can't say I'm surprised about Michael Thomas being out. And honestly, Ray, we can't say we're surprised that Jameis Winston is out. He's not going to make this start. Played through the injury last week. Unable to play this week. Looking like Andy Dalton. And I know it's already been mentioned. Wow, this is actually an improvement for Alvin Kamara. Do you buy that? Is Kamara a better play with Andy Dalton than he is with Jameis Winston?
Well, the interesting thing is, and we've seen this, right? And you've talked about it. You highlighted it a couple of weeks ago with Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston plays so-so football. He's bottled up. He does the little things for 3 quarters. Then the game they're not winning. And it's, let's go, Jameis. Chuck it, right?
Okay, we'll let you be Jameis Winston.
Yeah, right?
Once we fall down 17 points, we will let you be Jameis Winston again.
Keep the reins. When we realize, oh, crap, go. In that type of passer, a guy, Jameis Winston, who wants to challenge the sticks, who wants to go deep. What are the air yards for Chris Olave? Like 900 a week. It's ridiculous. That kind of guy doesn't look to dump it off a lot. Like Jameis Winston starts moving around and, the Andy Dalton starts moving around. Oh, crap. Here you go, Kamara. Jameis Winston starts moving around. Here we go. I'm flinging it down the field. So, yeah, I think it's better than not. Having Dalton out there is better for the passing game outlook for Alvin Kamara. Does that mean that he suddenly returns to the guy catching 6 passes a week? I don't know if I'll go that far. But we were talking about this earlier in the week, Jeff Mans and I too. If you watch Kamara right now, Mark Ingram is good, and that's yeesh. Like Alvin has not looked sharp. He's got that gliding style, so he's not, he doesn't look overtly fast, and he's not a guy that's pushing piles necessarily. But I haven't been impressed by what I have seen to date. Though I do, again, think that the addition of Dalton to the starting lineup conceivably boosts his value in the passing game.
Yeah, honestly, Ray, I don't think Kamara's a runner anymore. I really don't think he's a running back anymore. They're still trying to use him as one, but I don't see it. If I were the Saints, Ray, he's a wide receiver for me. And I know that'll never happen, but I think he is so much more dangerous just lining out wide. Go out and find other running backs, younger running backs. Let Kamara do what makes him special. To me, it's not the running game. It's the receiving game and hurting defenses after he gets the ball in his hands. So if I were the Saints, I'd make that switch. They're not willing to do it, though. They're still trying to make Kamara a running back. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Now, it's hard to change in season. This is something you should have prepped for before the season. But I think the Saints would be better served. I think this is an uptick for Kamara, having Dalton. On the other side, remember, this is the London game, so it's a 9:30 kickoff on Sunday morning. On the other side, Dalvin Cook, Ray, I guess you have to say he's probably going to play. There might be some out there who still want to fade Dalvin Cook. I will remind everybody, last season, he was coming off a shoulder injury, and I think, Ray, he was wearing the harness in like week 13, week 14, and he went off for 200 yards. So I think you are really risking it if you bench Dalvin Cook. Like, if you got him, Ray, and he's active, throw him out there. Just let him be. I am totally fine with chancing it. If my RB1's playing, my RB1's in my fantasy lineup.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, we don't know at this point for sure if he's going to play. If he does play, well, let's back up for a second. His involvement in the passing game thus far has been pretty minimal. And so when you're not scoring touchdowns and you're catching 2 passes a week, things get a little tight. And so you add any injury to Cook if he does play. He's a running back 2 this week for me if he plays. But to Kyle's point, do you have 2-3 better guys? Extremely unlikely. So I think most people, if they had Dalvin Cook, will be playing him this week if indeed he is active.
It's not looking good for David Montgomery. He's just missing practice after practice. And everything I read, Ray, is like, we were talking about this with Mac Jones. It's like, I don't care what the Patriots are saying. The dude's not playing. It's kind of the same situation with the Bears, is it not? Where I guess they're playing this game of, he could be out there. He's got a chance. But everything I read, Ray, they say like this is a 3-4 week injury. He's not going to be out there for the Bears on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't anticipate Montgomery playing. I don't anticipate Mac Jones playing. Mac Jones was at practice. He was standing by a net. So he was at practice, but standing by a net's not really at practice. The Montgomery thing is weird. I mean, again, teams with this stuff, it's week 4 of the NFL season. It's not the Super Bowl. Is he going to play or not? Like, come on, man. Like, you're going to run the ball. You're not throwing the ball, guys. It's not like, oh my gosh, Dave Montgomery's out. We're going to throw it 37 times. So we know you're not throwing the ball. You're going to run it. So, it's not like the opponent doesn't have a game plan that doesn't include David Montgomery. I don't get it at all, but I don't expect him to play at this point either.
Talked about Christian McCaffrey earlier. For those who missed it, he's got a quad injury. He's questionable. Ray, I would make the statement that we will know nothing official until 11:30 on Sunday when we see the actives and inactives. And hey, I will say, just like Cook, Ray, if McCaffrey's healthy, you got to send him out there. Don't play this guessing game of, but what if he gets hurt in the first quarter? Or what if the Panthers are only going to use him as a decoy? I know it sucks, Ray, but you can't miss out on a McCaffrey game. Like, if he's active, you got to play him. It's what you signed up for. I would beg of people not to screw around with the decision and try to like game manage this or maybe game theory it is maybe the way I should present it. Just play the dude. If he's out there, play him. If he isn't, go somewhere else.
Yeah, just remember it is an afternoon game.
It's late afternoon. You're right.
Arizona,
it's a 4 o'clock kickoff.
Yeah. So, there's games, there's 4 games and then there's Monday Night Football. So you have pivots. Hopefully you have Hubbard or Foreman, just to say it, because people are going to ask. Hubbard be the guy that I'd lean to if McCaffrey's out. Do I expect 18 touches out of Hubbard? No. Would I be starting Hubbard in that offense? No. You know what I mean? It's like, no, you don't want to be involved in that backfield if CMC is out this week.
I think I just gave Ray a foreshadowing of his Sunday morning. Don't you know the game time?
Well, the good news
I broke your golden rule, Ray.
Yeah, everyone should look at the clock. The good news is I'm actually not on Twitter on Sunday this week. I'm on air instead. So
some other sucker's going to have to handle it.
Yeah, someone else. Justin Fensterman, by the way, will be handling it.
They found a good sucker.
They found a stooge. But everyone, I said it last week. We talked about it this week too. Yeah, make sure you're checking the time of games. It came up so many times last week where we had the issues with Allen. We had the issues with Herbert. People were going to make pivots, moves. You've got to have someone that you can turn to if you're going to wait on a player that's playing in the afternoon.
Speaking of game times, Ray, Sunday night is Kansas City and Tampa. Chris Godwin, big question mark for that one. And this rewinds back to week 1. Remember, they were playing Sunday night against Dallas, and that whole week we kind of wondered, would Godwin be back for week 1? He was, but he immediately got injured, and we haven't seen him since. Now, midweek, Ray, he got a limited session in, but then yesterday a DNP. So we'll see what the Bucs give us today. But again, that is a Sunday night game, Ray. So there's a lot of risk with waiting around on that news with Godwin.
There is. We've got Julio Jones with the knee. We've got Godwin with the hamstring. We've got Russell Gage with the hamstring. We've got Mike Evans, who missed last week because of suspension. He'll be back. This receiving core is still up in the air. I mean, they had to turn to Cole Beasley for some snaps last week. So, I've got Godwin, I think, on 2 teams. And so it's been a disappointing start, obviously. And I'm sure it is for everyone else, too. There's a chance he plays this week. And, I don't think at this point, and you can disagree with me, Kyle, I don't think at this point Chris Godwin plays if they don't think he can play 75% of the snaps. Like, I don't think they activate him to, run 18 snaps and get 3 targets. I think they're going to wait until they fully trust he can handle the workload.
If they're sensible, Ray, they'll realize they got totally roasted making this decision in week 1.
Mm-hmm.
Why get roasted again in week 4?
Yep.
Get the guy healthy. Can we just get Godwin healthy? Like, if he's less than 100%, doesn't need to be out there. So it's trending game time decision. We may get reporting through the weekend leading up to it, but I think it's a huge, huge question mark with Godwin. I would plan to go in another direction, frankly. Just have another direction to go. You might need another direction to go if you own Gabriel Davis. I've been pinpointing that game, Ray. Bills and Ravens all week saying, man, this is a Gabe Davis game. Like, if Gabe Davis is going to be what people expect, this needs to be a game where he does well. Well, Ray, we may not even get Gabe Davis. We are hearing he has re-aggravated his ankle injury. Played through it last Sunday, was looking good for this week, but now Sean McDermott says he's a question mark for Sunday.
Yeah, and, it's really interesting because, there was so much hype and excitement about Davis, right? And, goes 45 and a touchdown. We're all excited. Then the injuries start hitting. And it's one of those things like you with the draft capital you spent, it's not that you have to start him, but with the draft capital you spent, how do you not start him? Because you spent such an early round draft pick on him. He was probably your number 2 receiver. Now, maybe you got lucky and you got one of these guys off the waiver wire that you feel more confident about. But how do you not play Davis when he's healthy, when he's active in an offense that threw the ball 60 times last week? Who's got what the second best quarterback, third best quarterback in football? Like, you got to play him. So you just got to hope that he can, play through this and not be, not a decoy, but not be limited, because, while he could still be a fantasy option if he's playing 50% of the snaps, we need him out there 90% of the time. Like, we need him to be an every down player in that offense. And it's up in the air right now if that's going to happen in week 4.
Well, and we have a question in the chat room, Ray, about Isaiah McKenzie.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a guy we talked on earlier in the week about the waiver wire, because people were going to make that move to McKenzie. And I said at the time, fine to add him, but to me, he's not a guy that you're starting every week. I see this matchup. I see Davis limping around. Dawson Knox is also limping around. So maybe McKenzie moves into your starting lineup. We should note, Ray, that what Gabriel Davis does and what McKenzie does is not the same thing. So it's not like, oh, he's going to be racing outside running the routes of Gabe Davis. That needs to be said, but I will also add, Ray, I think he's got to become more of part of the offense if Davis isn't out there. Like, I would probably elevate McKenzie to a top 40 wide receiver if I found out Davis is not playing on Sunday.
Yeah, well, let's look at the matchup. The Ravens' defensive backfield is in shambles. Okay. They're allowing 280 yards a game to wide receivers in the early going here, right? We just saw him get torched last week. Now, Kyle's 100% right, and I see a lot of people, I understand it, but I think some people misunderstand this. Isaiah McKenzie's about this big, and he plays in the slot. Okay, he's not Gabe Davis. Like Kyle said, he's not moving out wide and running the same routes. If you look at McKenzie, he played 1 more snap last week than Jamison Crowder. He ran 6 more routes than Jamison Crowder. He and Jamison Crowder are basically halving the slot, right? So we've got a great matchup where a team that's getting torched defensively. We've got a potential of Davis being out. Does that elevate McKenzie? Sure, it does. Like you said, logically it does. Does that mean that McKenzie's going to go 790-1? No, let's not jump to that level because again, it's not the same route tree. He doesn't play the same position on the field. We're still going to see Crowder involved as we have every week this season. So, and I saw that question there, do you start McKenzie and all that? McKenzie is Keenan Allen and Jerry Jeudy start over McKenzie every single week, period, that they're on the field.
Yeah, well, and Ray, like, if you're starting 2 receivers, Jeudy and Keenan Allen are top 25 receivers every week.
You play them
roll with them. And Allen should be back. And I know Jeudy was a letdown last week, but just let these guys be. Just like the other option is Greg Dortch. I mean, Greg Dortch is limping around. Greg Dortch is a nobody. Like Keenan Allen and Jerry Jeudy, this is, Ray, that kind of question is when you start to get too cute. play Keenan Allen and Jerry Jeudy, okay? If they still are struggling come week 8 or 9, we can talk. But right now, they're not struggling to the point of McKenzie or Greg Dortch going in ahead of them.
Yeah, and again, Dortch is dealing with injury, but also Rondale Moore looks like he's going to play this week. The only reason Dortch has played is because they needed a slot receiver because Rondale Moore has been out. So Rondale Moore returns. Dortch is not even rosterable at that point. He's going to vanish, especially when DeAndre Hopkins comes back. So, yeah, a lot of these, slot guys, these 5'8" guys, they catch 5 or 6 passes. That's great. When they catch 3 passes for 22 yards, they kill you because they're not really touchdown makers. They're not high point in footballs. They're not getting, corner throws in the end zone. So those guys, you got to be very careful about the matchup as well as the accompanying health of the receiving corps before you start going in their direction.
Couple of other things to follow. James Conner was limited yesterday. I think it's trending towards playing, but it is James Conner, so you need to know that. Dalton Schultz with a knee problem, limited. Mentioned Dortch, mentioned Dawson Knox. Zay Jones, what do you have, 10 catches last week? Didn't practice yesterday. So that could be a problem for the Jags. And then the New York Giants, Ray, this is just, Hollywood couldn't put together a better story. They beg, they need, they want, they must have Kadarius Toney. Well, he and Wan'Dale Robinson still can't even get on the practice field, Ray. They haven't practiced all week, despite the absolute need for them in the Giants receiving game. Even if they dress, Ray, I don't care. I don't care. But put Toney out there, put Robinson out there. I'm not putting them in my fantasy lineup.
Yeah, what's so weird is Robinson said he was fine when he got hurt. He had not doing anything. He wasn't fine. It's been weeks. Kadarius Toney, someone we talked about earlier in the week, and I think someone, little birdie, I'm guessing, someone talked to us about Kadarius Toney here, and then might have called the Jeff Mann show on Sirius and asked the same question. Because then Jeff talked about it, and I'm going to be clear about this. Jeff said you want Toney. I also said on the show yesterday, I added Toney myself this week in the couple leagues, right? So it's not that you don't want to take the chance there. But Kyle's right. Even if he's active and it doesn't look like he's going to be, you can't play him right now. And having Toney on your roster we're hoping that this pays off in the future, right? And the future might be week 10. Like, it's not this week. It's not likely to be next week. And let's also be honest with ourselves. They need him. He's a nice talent. He has done nothing. He has played 5 quarters of football in the NFL that are good. 5. And everyone thinks that, oh my gosh, Toney. 5. Okay, be very cautious with the Kadarius Toney love.
When we return, we'll take a look at that Bears-Giants game, also that Saints-Vikings game, maybe sneak in the Chargers and the Texans as well. More Week 4 previews coming your way here on Lunch Money. Also, we'll dig a bit deeper into what went down Thursday night with that win by the Bengals. Stay with us. A lot coming your way. It is Lunch Money on a Friday. Kyle and Ray hanging out with you on the Bettor Sports Network.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
The only person, and I've said this to you before, who I believe back then, of all those power hitters who truly was clean, Ken Griffey Jr.
I mean, I think so when he got hurt. We'll never know that for sure either.
No, dude.
We've seen guys who were not big take substances.
That's true.
To get busted. So it's not about that always.
I hear you. It's just, don't you think with the way his career kind of went, you would think that he didn't take anything?
I don't think he did, but we'll never know 100%.
I'm going to keep telling myself that he didn't. The one pure player, I mean, he's my favorite baseball player of all time. In the 1990s, Ron, as a kid, as a 5-year-old kid who plays video games and collected cards, there was no one cooler than Ken Griffey Jr. I still wear my hat backwards because Ken Griffey Jr. did it and he looked really cool doing that, wearing a backwards baseball cap. Like, he made everything the guy did looked cool. Even the home run in the movie Little Big League, it's acting, it's all, I guess, fake, but even he made that look cool. I mean, Ken Griffey Jr., you're a little bit older than me, but in the 90s, besides Michael Jordan, was there a more loved athlete than Ken Griffey Jr.?
Yeah, no, I love Griffey. He's one of my favorite players ever, from defensively to hitting his swing. And yeah, I would have loved to see what he could have done if he had stayed healthy, the final numbers he'd finished with. So no, I was a huge fan of Ken Griffey, and It's a shame, though, that all those injuries towards the end of his career just really limited the production he could put up, but he still put up elite numbers. He was so fun to watch. So I'm a huge Ken Griffey guy.
And here's the other thing, too. So 1994, the season got shortened because of the strike.
He finished with 40 homers in 111 games that year, man. And then he had 56 2 years in a row, 97 and 98, and then 48. He had a stretch 4 years in a row, 49, 56, 56, 48, 40. I mean, unbelievable. And then, yeah, once he hit like 31, he started to miss games, 111, 70, 53, 83. So think about that. All those years that he lost, and he still hit 630 home runs, man. Yeah. So if he was clean, he would have been the all-time home run champion. Again, we're all guessing here, but you would think, all right, well, once he got into age 31, 32, that's when the body started breaking out, which is typical, right, for someone who's not using anything, whereas we saw Barry Bonds just get better with age, and we did not see that with Griffey. So look at 2001, where you're starting when he played on, look at the home runs decline, 8, 13, 20, 35, 27, 30, 18, 15 to his age 38 season. Even age 39 in 170 games, he had 19 home runs. So he probably would have definitely been the all-time home run leader had he been able to stay healthy.
Better Sports Network. It's sports talk done better.
Burrow takes the snap, hands it to Mixon, knifes inside for the first down, keeps fighting toward the end zone. It's a touchdown! Joe Mixon takes it in from 5 yards out, his first touchdown of the year, and for the second consecutive week, the Bengals take the ball to begin the game and go 75 yards to take the lead.
It's always lunchtime here. Now back to Kyle Elfrink and Ray Flowers.
Welcome you back into Lunch Money. Joe Mixon a touchdown. Joe Mixon 20 touches. The Bengals a win. Ray, I bring up the touches because yesterday we had the discussion of Samaje Perine, Chris Evans. Evans was active. Perine was active. Ray, they combined for one touch last night. It is still Joe Mixon's game in that Cincinnati backfield.
Yeah, it is. And, Mixon is the quintessential Ray and Kyle. You play the guy every week regardless because of the volume, right? I mean, it's just, it's insanity. He's just, I think I read somewhere he's running into brick walls. Like nothing's happening, but he's got 24 carries. Not just that, he's averaging over 4 catches a game. So, the volume is there. He's getting his 20-plus touches every week. It's not sexy. It's not exciting, but it plays in the fantasy game.
He had a lot of rushing, but Ray, Joe Burrow, there's a couple storylines there. First off, only 1 sack in that game last night, and I think there were 2 last week. So 3 sacks in the last 8 quarters. So this offensive line, which really changed in the offseason. I think they have 4 new members overall on that Bengals offensive line. So the first couple of games, it's like, oh my God, you spent all this money, you made all these changes, it looks like crap. Well, as is usually the case with offensive lines, the more they hang out, play together, coalesce, if you will, the better it is. So the last 2 games, a vast, vast improvement. The other thing with Burrow, Ray, last night was the first game this season that he had thrown fewer than 36 passes. And I bring that up because last season he averaged, 32 and a half. He had been averaging like 38, 39 this season. It was much more like his rookie season in terms of throwing and getting rid of the ball. That's something to follow with this offense because, Ray, last year there was a lack of passing, kind of weakened his fantasy prospects. Early on this year, kind of more back to that year number 1 for Burrow, kind of letting him throw it 40, 41, 42 times a week.
Yeah, we just talked about the Ravens and how bad they are, by the way, defensively, and they're getting torched in the air. 2 matchups last year. We'll talk about this next week, I'm sure. Joe Burrow threw for 941 yards in 2 games against the Ravens last year. So, they're probably going to want him throwing the ball more next week, would be my guess. And I think that, the coalition of the offensive line has been great to see. The fact that Burrow's getting the ball out a little bit quicker. There were some plays where he was really holding on to it the first couple of weeks. They've rectified that situation. And look, when you do that, give a quarterback time to throw. When he makes decisive reads with that level of talent, you have success.
And Ray, they're using the guys they got. You got Chase, you got Higgins, you got Boyd. Last night, those guys, I think it was like 13 catches, 250 yards, and a touchdown. I did notice with Jamar Chase, Ray, and this is probably something worth talking. He has not been bad. He's not been awful. Nothing. No one really can complain about Jamar Chase.
People complain.
But it is noteworthy, Ray. Check out these numbers. I saw these this morning. They caught my eye. Yards per catch. Last year was 18. This year, it's under 12. Yards per target. Last year for Jamar Chase, 11.4. This year, it's like 7 yards. That's a big drop. Now, that's on the negative. On the positive, Ray, we've gone from 4.8 catches to 6.3 a game for Jamar Chase. What we're seeing, Ray, is a guy who was a rookie last year and kind of beat you on raw talent. You know, he could hurt you that way. Now we're seeing, Ray, a route tree develop. We're seeing a receiver kind of refine his trade, refine his art, if you will, and become a more well-rounded guy. So that's a little bit negative in some aspects. You know, maybe we don't get the big play Jamar Chase as often. Maybe instead of, you know, last year taking 3 shots down the field, we only take 1 a game to Jamar Chase. But it's something to follow. Again, it's a little bit of a different look for him in year 2 versus year 1.
Yeah, his average depth of target too. That's the number I saw is down about 3 yards as well. And it's been different. Now, again, let's not forget this, that, you know, last year when he faced the Ravens in 2 games, he had like 325 yards. So, you know, maybe things change next week against that beat up Ravens team. But to date, he has been utilized a little bit differently. And that's not surprising. And, you know, it's also, we say that we've seen this a lot with players, right? Derrick Henry is another guy. The big plays happen for guys like this. Jamar Chase is going to get behind someone. He's going to slip a tackle. Here's 58-yard touchdown. It happens, right? But they don't consistently happen. So, you know, a lot of these numbers, you look at them and it's like, okay. And then there's a big 2 weeks like we saw Jamar Chase have last year. And all of a sudden the numbers start looking a lot more similar. So I'm not willing to say that it's doom and gloom, and no one should be. And in fact, you know, cutting a little bit of the depth off and getting the ball in his hands more, we'd rather see that anyway, Kyle.
That Cincinnati Ravens game is Sunday Night Football for Week 5, by the way. Dolphins suffer their first loss. They're on the road at the Jets next week. And, Ray, I will say, because we're probably going to see him under center next week, Teddy Bridgewater looked fine. Now, Teddy Bridgewater is probably nothing more than that, a fine NFL quarterback. I don't know, Ray, if this Dolphins offense changes a whole lot. I would think the things they trust Tua to accomplish, they trust Bridgewater to accomplish. So, like, you look at last night, and again, he played a half of football, a little over a half of football. Ray, they kind of kept doing what they've done through the first 3 weeks. The final count was 37 pass attempts in this game, Bridgewater and Tua, versus 22 runs, which again is about 2-to-1, actually a little better than 2-to-1 on the pass to run ratio. So for those kind of wondering, well, what's this mean for Waddle or Hill or really anybody with the Dolphins? Ray, I don't think it changes much. And maybe it's only 1 week for Bridgewater. We'll have to see how Tua comes back from the concussion. But for the most part, Ray, I would look at the Dolphins and their offense, and whether it's Bridgewater or Tua next week, it's kind of the same expectation. It's the same offense, I would say.
Yeah, I did, and not to bag on a guy that's hurt, but because we did a whole thing at the start with Tua, but did everyone notice he underthrew? I mean, the guy can't. So, you know, is the offense going to be appreciably different? Is Teddy Bridgewater going to come in here and be able to hit 50-yard throw? No, he's not that guy. It's nice that there's a similarity with the style of game they want to play, to your point. Because a lot of teams, you know, Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco, it's not the same guy. I mean, it's just, they're totally different, right? In this case, we have a lot of similarities between what the 2 quarterbacks do well. And Bridgewater's perfectly competent. You know, are there going to be 400-yard games from him? No. Now, are there going to be 400-yard games from Tua despite the 1? Probably not, right? That's just not likely to happen. They're going to want to run a balanced attack and all that. But to your main point, I think that we do have to look at the offense and think they're going to run it in a similar fashion. We can have some concern, as we saw last night, about Waddle. You know, because Waddle and Tua have that connection, right? They do. They just do. And then you sprinkle in Hill on top. If Bridgewater doesn't have that connection with either guy, does it operate quite the same? You know, do we see both guys going for 6 catches for 90 yards every week? You know, maybe not. But I think you're right. The offense will be similar if Bridgewater's under center.
Well, 2 follow-ups. Bridgewater did hit on a deep pass. He was able to make that completion. which if you'll remember, Ray, my lunch hunch yesterday,
you hit it,
was Burrow and Tua to both have passes of 50 yards or better.
Mm-hmm.
Both quarterbacks got it. It just wasn't Tua and Burrow. So,
but
I hit on the game plan. The game plan said there's going to be big plays. So I hit on that bet, but the wrong quarterback threw it. Secondarily, and again, I think the passing attempts continue. I don't want people thinking the offense is exactly the same, but they will be pass heavy. That's kind of my point. The other thing that's forgotten, though, Ray, we got a kind of a reverse negative here with the QB. You go from a lefty to a righty. That obviously changes the blocking up front, but it also, I think, changes the routes that these guys are running because it's just more natural for the right-handed guy to throw to the right side and the left-handed guy to throw to the left side. So we'll see if that adjusts. Those are things we can't sit here and really play out. They're not good radio, let's say that, but that will alter as well. I still think they're going to throw is kind of the main takeaway there, whether it's Bridgewater or Tua Tagovailoa. Let's get into a few more of the games for week number 4, Ray, and we'll start our previews today by looking at the Chargers and the Houston Texans. Chargers on the road, despite getting embarrassed last week. They are 5-point favorites against the Texans. Over-under has actually moved up just a bit. We're sitting at 45. Chargers minus 240 for the straight-up win. Houston is plus 200. Favorite prop, Ray, where are you looking for this game between the Chargers and the Texans?
By the way, my lunch hunch plus 400 Adolis Garcia home run hit.
Boom!
So we had that yesterday. One of yours were close.
Because of injury, but yeah. Could have been the greatest lunch hunch of all yesterday.
Right? And two of us would have hit that. Woo! And this is going to be music to your ears, Kyle. And I don't agree with your assessment from earlier in the week, but I do agree with
10? Top 10, Davis Mills?
I do agree with Davis Mills in part here, Kyle. Yes. I'm taking the prop minus 115 to go over 233.5 passing yards.
Oh, he's going to double that number.
He's not going to double that number, but he will go over that number. So, yeah, to Kyle's point, Kyle, you had him in your top 10 overall this week. I am not going that far, but I think he throws for 234 yards.
Well, Ray, I'm going to take it another step beyond that, although it's not Davis Mills specific. Brandon Cooks has yet to have a touchdown this year. And yet he's totally involved. He's getting targets. He's getting catches, all that stuff. Ray, it ends this week. Anytime touchdowns for Brandon Cooks, plus 155. Do it. And remember, Ray, Brandon Cooks was in my top 10 as well at wide receiver. This is a killer DFS combo this week, Ray. That killer mini build going with Davis Mills as your QB, hooking up with Brandon Cooks. That's what I'm feeling.
A lot of people are out on Brandon Cooks. I had a couple of people this week ask if they should drop Brandon Cooks, which is
come on.
I know. People are really out.
Doesn't he have like 15 catches through 3 games?
Not getting in the end zone, Kyle. You know how it goes.
Yeah. Goodness, man, that touchdown. I get it. That's what we keep score of, but got to understand we score other things in fantasy football, not just those touchdowns. Player to watch, Ray. I got to go back to Herbert. I said it on Monday. The dude didn't look good. He didn't feel good. I don't think he looked sharp. His passes weren't accurate. We'll see if another week of healing helps. But for all intents and purposes, that's where I'm keeping my eyes. Does he look like a top 3, top 4 quarterback?
Yeah, and he still slung the ball pretty well, but to your point, the offense, and then they lost a left tackle, and we don't know for sure about Keenan Allen. There's definitely a lot of things that are going on, swirling around there that we need to keep an eye on.
Who's your player to watch?
Yeah, my guy is Josh Palmer. Palmer in essence is the replacement for Allen. Allen is likely to play this weekend, but Guyton's out. He tore his ACL. He's done for the season. Now, Palmer and Guyton are different players, so, but Palmer's been playing, 90% of the snaps each of the last 2 weeks. He's seen 8 targets each of the last 2 weeks. I don't anticipate the level staying to that height with him, but I'm very interested to see how he is indeed utilized. If Allen is back to playing his normal role, if Williams is back to playing his normal role, what do we got with Josh Palmer?
I couldn't find a great player to fade, honestly, in this game. So I went with a unit. And this pertains to fantasy football. Chargers defense. Usually, Ray, I'd say, man, take them against Houston. Go for it. If you're streaming a defense, go for it. This Joey Bosa thing means a lot. And I'm starting to learn, Ray, that you take one of these pass rushers out of a defense and it really changes the defense. Like if you don't have that one arrow in your quiver that can really get to the quarterback, when you remove them from your defense, it makes things a lot easier, which is why Davis Mills is a top 10 quarterback this week. With no Bosa not being in there, we saw it last week, Ray. Trevor Lawrence looked good. How many times have we said in our NFL lives that Trevor Lawrence, he looked good. He did. He had time. He was able to throw. Davis Mills is going to have the same time. Fade this Chargers defense. Expect some trouble for them. Who's your fade?
My fade is, and again, it was hard to find one too. So I'm just going Gerald Everett. He's seen 16 targets the last 2 weeks, but let's remember that's without Keenan Allen. So this offense is going to have to refocus here. Again, I mentioned that, Josh Palmer and what are we going to get there? Everett's a guy that, and I still can't get over the fact that, he couldn't do a play and it led to, if anyone doesn't remember what happened when he ran 2 plays and he was so tired.
Ray. A guy can't ask for a breather.
Can't ask for a breather, lead to a pick six, cost your team a game. But yeah, he's my guy to fade this week. I think the addition of Keenan Allen back and then somewhat of a surge of Palmer probably ticks down the target share for Everett this week.
Okay, watchability. I struggled to do anything more than a 2 for the Chargers and the Texans. This might be the least watchable game of the week, I think.
Oh, no.
Well, maybe not. I think we got a game coming up that might be even less watchable.
I have a 2 on this one too. And if you got a top 10 quarterback and a top 10 wide receiver, Kyle, I don't know, it's not higher for you, but 2 for me.
The next game, Ray, might be lower. Let's start with watchability for Bears Giants.
Yeah.
Now, admittedly, I gave it an equal 2.
Okay.
I was also with a 2. Did you go lower than a 2?
I went 1. And I could have gone higher because there are things that, I could have.
I got Saquon Barkley, right? At the very least, give me Saquon Barkley. He deserves at least a 1.5.
Yeah, I could give it even a 2 because I have Daniel Jones in my Dynasty League. I have Justin Fields in my Dynasty League. I'm always fond of pounding on a coaching staff that seems to not know what's going on. So, I'm going 2. I'm going with the 2. I'm changing. Let's go 2.
Okay, so you equal me on a 2. Giants are favored by 2.5. Over under Ray doesn't even get the 40.
Wow.
For these two.
It's understandable.
And I totally get it. My favorite prop, Ray, why not pick on Justin Fields? The issue is I went to DraftKings this morning. They are not offering props on Justin Fields. Every other quarterback in the NFL, Ray, you can get completions on. You can get passing attempts on, interceptions, touchdowns. All you can get on Fields, I think, is passing yardage. That's all you can get. All the other stuff. And I wonder, Ray, if maybe the program doesn't work at these sports books to enter a quarterback with an over-under of 12.5 passes.
Yeah, you're right.
The program goes, surely you're making a mistake.
Or you're a backup.
You're inverting the numbers here.
You're a backup. We can't expect an injury to happen, so you're not even on the list. Yeah.
So what I found, Ray, and I feel good about this prop, is a head-to-head between Daniel Jones and Justin Fields. I will take Daniel Jones at minus 47.5 yards to outpass Justin Fields. So what that means is Daniel Jones, we all know point spreads, -3. They expect you to win by 3 or more. Minus 47.5 means to win the bet, Ray, he's got to have at least 48 yards passing more than Justin Fields, meaning he will need about 107 yards passing this week. No, a little more than that. But Ray, I feel good about it. It's what is it? Minus 115 as well.
Okay.
So it's not a bad bet.
Okay.
Now, again, there's about a 50-yard difference, but I think Daniel Jones can do that even without Tony and even without Robinson. He doesn't even need those guys, Ray, or Sterling Shepard to top Justin Fields by 48 yards.
Well, my favorite prop is Daniel Jones minus 115 to go over 197.5 passing yards. So, yeah, and again, if he gets there, it might be Fields, and you might win your bet too. Jones has run the ball at least 6 times in every game, so he's been very willing to use his legs, and I think that always causes some concern with the defense because Jones was it last year, the year before we had that 90-yard run where he fell over. He was the fastest quarterback in football that year on the run. He's faster than Lamar Jackson, faster than Kyler Murray. He's actually an athletic guy, so he keeps defenses honest there, and that helps a little bit with the struggles of the receiving core. That helps a little bit with his struggles in the passing game. Should he throw for 200 yards against the Bears? I think he should.
Let me clarify. He was measured faster than Lamar Jackson.
Correct.
Ray, I think when Lamar Jackson's running, he's not going full bore. Would you take, even though, again, the measurements say that Daniel Jones hit a higher speed, would you bet a penny on Daniel Jones winning a 40-yard dash against Lamar Jackson?
That's the funniest thing because Phil Backert, our producer for years at SiriusXM, he's at Mr. Raven. And when I remember when this happened, I was like, Phil, and he's like, that makes no. And I'm like, yeah, we're laughing. It's like, that can't be right. And we checked again, and that was what they verified. That was so.
Well, I think Jones, there's momentum, and he was like, he can't ever let up, Ray.
Yeah.
He's got to keep running because someone can catch him. Lamar Jackson, once he gets through the defense, he can let up. He doesn't have to hit, top gear to get into the.
Well, he's running at 95%, looking around and doing this. And Daniel Jones is just, So to your point, I would not bet against Lamar Jackson, no.
Player to watch, I would put Daniel Jones, but he's so damn fast, I can't keep up with him. So I'm not watching him. Ray, I'll go with the obvious one. It's Khalil Herbert. That's what everybody's watching. I'll go with that. I will say Montgomery, it's not official, but I think there's no way he plays. And Ray, I will say for anybody who had Herbert or picked him up, play him. This matchup against the Giants is totally fine. We know they're going to want to run the football, so I can't really say why you shouldn't. You should play Herbert. He's at the very least an RB2. All that said, I want people to understand there's a reason he's an NFL backup. Okay? So understand it's not as automatic as we like to think. But, Ray, the matchup's good enough to where you just play him. You use them, and you hope for the best against the Giants.
Yeah, I think that's fair. No disagreement.
Your guy to follow.
My guy to follow, it's Darnell Mooney, okay? And this is, we've talked about this. I think it was Monday I went into the whole thing. The fact that, this guy was catching 5 passes every game at the end of the season last year. And now he's got 5 catches through the season. He leads the team with 11 targets this season, 11. And that's a 25% target share. If you have a 25% target share, you're a starter in fantasy. That's pretty much what we got. What's going on here? What's going on with this offense? What's their plan? Are they going to throw the ball 20 times? Are they actually going to get nuts and throw it 20 times? Mooney is someone that if he's been dropped already, I don't have an issue with it. Yeah. If he's on the waiver wire, do you need to run and get him? No, you don't. There's still a chance that he emerges because if they want to be competitive, they got to start throwing the football, right? So he is someone I really want to watch. Is there anything here, or is this legitimately going to be a team where if you catch 51 passes, you lead the team? I don't know.
It says a lot about this game, Ray, that your player to watch is a guy who runs dummy routes. You're going to watch Darnell Mooney faking that he's running routes.
He looks good running that route. Yeah.
Let me say this about Mooney. Ray, if he has a 5 for 97 in a score,
right?
I wouldn't care. Next week, we're still back to worrying about Justin Fields in this offense. And I fear, Ray, that Mooney will have, if he has that moment, people will think, oh, that changes everything. It doesn't. Changes nothing for me. It'll be a one-off. It'll have happened. And 2 weeks from now, we'll say, did that really happen? Because this team doesn't know how to pass. So I wouldn't be going ballistically crazy, oh, wow, Darnell Mooney, he's back. Even if he has a strong effort on Sunday. My player to fade, Ray, I had Kadarius Toney, but it sounds like he's not playing.
Did you really have him?
Fade him. Mooney, can you fade a guy who's already had the sun set and has disappeared for the night?
Right.
Justin Fields, can I fade that? I can't. I'll say this, Ray. Every receiver for the Giants, every single one. This is Saquon Barkley's game. He's going to have a big one. It may be 80 yards rushing, 60 receiving. Big game for Barkley. Every receiver, Ray, I don't care. I guess somebody has to catch passes, but don't fall for a Kenny Golladay thing. Don't fall for that. Ray, it's just ugly. Sills, no. Just fade all these guys. They have a chance of winning, of course, but this game is really in the dumper. It's a Khalil Herbert, Saquon Barkley game. Whichever running back does the most damage, his team wins.
And Richie James, don't forget. 5 for 49 in a cloud of smoke.
Yeah. Trying to think of all these guys who sing in the Four Seasons. David Sills and Richie James. All those guys. Who's your fade?
I couldn't find anyone either. I went Justin Fields, but this is more just so I can talk about it than really, no one's starting Justin Fields. If the offense doesn't throw the ball this week, you just got to be out like everyone. And again, you should have never been in on Mooney at the cost. You should have never been in on Cole Kmet. Said that repeatedly in the preseason. And that's really it, right? So it's not like there's a lot of guys. I just can't fathom how a coaching staff goes into an NFL football game and legitimately thinks that throwing the ball 15 times a week is going to work. I just can't. I don't understand it. And if Justin Fields can't throw the ball more than 15 times a game, he can't be your quarterback. It's that, period. If they don't think he's capable of making reads he can't be starting. So you've got one of two things this team has to decide. Is it Justin Fields' team? And if so, he's got to throw the ball. Or is he incapable of doing it right now? And then we need to make a quarterback switch. You can't do the middle, which is what they've done through 3 weeks this season.
That'll be a 1 o'clock kickoff from the Meadowlands. Bears paying a visit to the New York Giants. Let's go to the 9:30 a.m. kickoff, which, Ray, just to remind you, is 6:30 Pacific. You getting up for this one? Saints and Vikings from London, 6:30 a.m.
I will have the recorder going. I will not be getting up. Actually, I'll be up. I get up at 6:15 on Sundays. I'll be up.
Now, Ray, tomorrow morning at 4:30 your time, it's the North London Derby between Tottenham and Arsenal. You going to get up at 4:30 for a little EPL?
Pass.
Okay. Can't have two straight early mornings.
No,
can't do that. Okay, let's talk it over. Vikings are favored by 3. Now, I would suspect, ever since this news on Michael Thomas and Jameis Winston has popped, that number has popped. Let me pull it up here because I looked at that number probably, it's 3.5 now, so not a big change, but a slight alteration there. The over-under is sitting at 41.5, which is about 1.5 down with the move to Andy Dalton versus Jameis Winston. Let's see, Minnesota minus 140, the Saints plus 120. What's your favorite prop of what's left? I mean, again, we're missing Thomas. We're missing Winston. We've got a limping, or I should say injured, Dalvin Cook. What do you got as your favorite prop for Sunday morning?
We talked a lot about this earlier in the sense that if there's a change made to Andy Dalton at quarterback, which seems likely at this point, that could benefit Alvin Kamara as a pass catcher. I'm actually going with his rushing prop. And I agree with you earlier that, he's not the same guy. I said it myself. I don't think he's the same guy, but this offense, they're going to have to do things different. And the rushing prop for Kamara is 52.5 yards. So I'm taking it. It's 115. Let's not forget that Minnesota has not looked good against the run. They've been run over against the run. I think they've allowed 5 rushing scores and almost 5 yards a carry. So I'll take the 52.5. Is it going to be 82.5, 92.5, 102? No, it might be barely over that, but I'm taking it.
I'm taking Kirk Cousins to throw at least an interception. At least one. The dude's made 123 starts and has like 92 picks. So, it's about 0.75 a game. Here I get 0.5. The money on that is even money, plus 100. So I'm digging that call on Cousins, plus the fact that in 2 games he's had 0 picks. In the other game, he had 3. Last week was 0. We're due some interceptions for Kirk Cousins. He doesn't have many efforts where he goes like 60 passes without a pick. He's working on one now, so he is due an interception. I'm taking the over there. My player to watch, Ray, got to be Chris Olave. Here's your chance, man. And this is how it happens, Ray. We kind of get excited about a rookie, and then we really get excited about a rookie because the situation changes. Mm-hmm. And Olave had some strong moments last week working with Winston. Michael Thomas is out. Jarvis Landry is older, coming off an injury. Totally different route tree for Jarvis Landry. Ray, great opportunity here for Olave. I'd appreciate it a lot more if Winston were in there versus Dalton. Mm-hmm. But I think this is a chance for Olave to pay off, to kind of maybe get that ball rolling in the direction of becoming a more consistent guy in this offense. They're probably going to need him because this will not be the last we've heard of an injury to Michael Thomas. Believe me, that's going to be hanging around all year long. So Olave, this is his first chance, Ray, to really assert himself, to follow up on the big performance last week. He's my guy to watch.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting too because he'll be utilized different. We were joking earlier about Jameis Winston just chucking the ball deep. Olave is Mr. Chuck the ball deep and just get the ball to him. Andy Dalton not likely to play that way, so it'll be interesting to see if it's the volume is there, but it's more the underneath stuff, and maybe we get 8, 9, 10 catches because of that. We'll see.
Who's your guy to follow?
My guy to follow is not the obvious one because he scored a touchdown last week. But his teammate, Justin Jefferson, caught 3 balls for 14 yards. Everyone's following Justin Jefferson. And all they have heard all week there with the Vikings is going to be, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong. So you know that they're going to react to that, the Vikings, right? And it's not to mention they understand they've got to get the ball to Jefferson to win football games. So my guy to watch is Adam Thielen. Because, if we're getting 12 targets to Justin Jefferson as they try to rectify the disaster that was last season, where does, Thielen fit in here? He's barely averaging 4 catches to date. He's just under 50 yards receiving. He has that 1 touchdown, but he wasn't covered. He's done nothing to date. Really, he's done nothing. His targets, catches, and yards, each of the last 2 games, though, have gone up. So he's kind of slowly working his way back into relevance here. But I'm very interested to see how the passing attack in general and specifically how Thielen plays out in week number 4.
He is actually my guy to fade. And remember, what Ray says is watching is not meaning this guy's going to go off. It's like this is a guy to keep your eye on, kind of see how he's used, see how he responds, all those things. I am fading Thielen, and Ray, the big reason I'm fading, it allows me to make this prediction. KJ Osborne is going to be the second receiver in this offense by the end of the year. And that will probably be dictated by Thielen missing time. But if you look at the numbers right now, both these guys are playing in the first 3 games. KJ Osborne is not that far behind Adam Thielen in the pecking order. I think Osborne, again, he's not a start this week. I'm fading Thielen. I'm not saying start Osborne. It's happened now, and week 4 he takes over. But he is really a guy I like if I've got him as my 5th receiver right now. Because I think once we get deeper into the season, you'll start trusting KJ Osborne a bit more. I think Thielen, it's going to be all Jefferson this week. I think it's going to be a load of Jefferson. They're going to take that problem of last week and erase it. So Thielen's my guy to fade, not expecting big things there. The problem with fading Thielen, Ray, is he is a touchdown maker. Like, he is a guy who can only have 2 or 3 catches that still end up in the end zone. He's kind of like Mike Evans in that way, that he always finds a way to get that touchdown, even when he's been quiet the whole afternoon. So that's kind of the fear with a total fade of Thielen. But I'm not expecting big overall things there. Who is your fade for the Vikings and these Saints?
The guy you mentioned, KJ Osborne, because and I'm not disagreeing with down the road. We're talking right now. And, KJ Osborne has a touchdown, 73 yards, everyone's in, and people chase. He's the big waiver wire addition and all that. He's still the 3rd receiver on this team. And don't overlook the fact that his production last week was better than his first 2 weeks together, right? This is a guy, like so many teams, who has a 3rd receiver will have success. There will be games, there will be plays, there will be moments. But when you're behind Thielen and you're behind Jefferson, there's not enough of that. The Vikings aren't going into games saying we're going to throw the ball 40 times. That's just not what their plan is. So I just want people to pump the brakes on Osborne. You're right. If he's your 5th receiver, he's a guy I'm not disagreeing with that assessment at all. I'm just fading him in week number 4.
My watchability, and I think a lot of people are going to watch this game because it's on and nothing else is. But 3.5, and Ray, it does lose a bit with Winston and Thomas out. An offense is a lot less, car crash if you have Andy Dalton versus Jameis Winston. Winston has more of that, got to stop and watch this snap. So you don't get that with Dalton in there, but still plenty to watch here. A couple of good teams. I don't think they're great teams. I don't even know if they're playoff teams, but I'll give it a 3.5.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 2. I don't know. I'm just over the Saints, I think, in general. I agree with you. Watching Jameis Winston run around and fling balls up is always fun. We don't have that. I try to get – I just can't, 2.
What do you think the percentage of fans, and they're playing at my Tottenham Spurs home stadium. So I think that place is going to have like 70, 80,000 in there. They always sell these things out in London. They're huge hits. But Ray, I still wonder what the percentage of fans are who actually know what's going on. And maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe everybody does.
Right.
I still get the vibe that, like, if you go to London or England today, it's kind of like hockey. where within that 20-mile radius of where the hockey team is at, people love it.
Right.
They eat it up and they can't. But you get outside that 20-mile radius and it's like, yeah, I'll watch a Bruins game or a Panthers game every once in a while. Or, oh, yeah, the Dallas Stars. I like going to. I kind of feel that's how it is with the NFL in London, to where there are probably like 60 to 70,000 like absolute crazy diehards that would put even a dog pound guy up for his money. But after that, Ray, I think it's a lot of people who are like the curiosity factor gets them into the stadium.
Well, like, I'm not a big Paul McCartney guy, never really happened. But like, if someone said, here's a Paul McCartney ticket to a show, I'm going. So yeah, it's like, it's a thing. And, there's football, the real football over there, right? There's rugby. So, I mean, I'm sure, like you're saying, I would bet the majority of fans know enough. But there's got to be penalties that are called and stuff where they're like, what the hell? What's a butt punt? Like, things like that would probably throw them off a little bit.
Yeah, I don't even know the rules, all of them. I thought a butt punt was a block punt. The NFL told us it wasn't.
Yeah.
I've been watching for 35 years. That McCartney thing reminds me, Ray, I keep looking at The Who is coming to town. And I love The Who. I'm a big fan of The Who's music. I think they're often overlooked as a great band. But, Ray, I've never seen them. I should go to appreciate these legends. But like, to me, it's not really The Who, it's half The Who. Now, maybe the two most important parts of The Who with Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey. But Ray, I'm like, I should go. I should be there, but I can't pull the trigger. And it's a Friday night. It's right down the road. I should have, and I can get it for like $30.
Maybe
I should go see The Who.
Maybe you should go.
I should. Maybe I'll just decide right here, now. Here on Lunch Money. Question in the chat room: Vikings defense or Rams defense? Now that Rams game is Monday night against the Niners. And quite simply, Ray, it's Andy Dalton and no Michael Thomas. Give me the Vikings defense.
Yeah, give me the Rams.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with,
I always feel like the Niners have the Rams figured out. Like they moved the football on the LA Rams.
Yeah, but the thing, what are we getting if we're playing the Vikings?
You're hoping for a pick six.
Right.
Like,
aren't the odds of that higher with Winston?
I feel Dalton is more susceptible to a pick six than is Jimmy Garoppolo.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, and I think to me, Dalton's more likely to chuck the ball out of bounds. Dalton's more likely to turf a ball into the ground to avoid a sack. He's not going to run around for 14 minutes trying to make a play. I mean, I don't think Minnesota's.
Well, neither defense stands out as like, a great one to me. So I'm like, well, who's got the weaker offense? Who gets to face the weaker offense? And I believe that's the Saints, not the 49ers.
Well, and again, the Vikings have not. They're not stopping the run right now. That's just a boring. I'm not doing it.
Yeah. Not excited either way.
No, not really.
Coin flip, I think, is what they say on that one. Okay, let's take a time out here. Duke is in his den. I think he's got some soccer calls, speaking of England and all that fun stuff. So we'll get to him for that. When we return, it's a Friday. This might be the most eagerly anticipated segment on a Friday. Ray and Kyle's Treasure Trove. It's coming your way next, right here on Lunch Money on the Bettor Sports Network.
Good afternoon, bettors. It's your boy Duke, back and better than ever, presented to you as always by fantasyguru.com, where you can find all of your daily fantasy, seasonal, or betting needs for any single sport you can possibly imagine. We even have some darts and F1 going on in one of the channels over there on Discord. Welcome back to Duke's Den. If you haven't signed up with us yet, make sure you do. fantasyguru.com, go to join today. Type in promo code BETTOR, that's BETTOR, for 20% off any package. Look, season-long drafts are done. We're still helping you out every single day on pickups, drops, trades, this man, that man, who do we start, who do we sit, everything going on in the Discord, 24/7 access over there. It's important because we'll see as Sunday morning, big injury news breaking here on Friday, September 30th. Looks like Jameis Winston will possibly be out with Andy Dalton taking over there. Looks like Michael Thomas might be out. Who do you play? How does that affect the team? What do we do from a betting standpoint? To be honest, my drop-off from Jameis to Andy Dalton is like a half point, if that. So really not a big change for me. But Michael Thomas news is significant. Where does that production go? They've taken Chris Olave's props off the board. Does that mean we have a huge Alvin Kamara game? Does Olave benefit from being the main target? Or does he get hurt from Michael Thomas not being there to take away some of that defensive pressure. Just some of the things we talk about every single day, every single second over at fantasyguru.com. So join us if you haven't yet. Use code BETTOR, BETTOR, for 20% off. Now, let's get a bet. We went 0-2 last night. I know. I heard it. I can feel it. I can feel the intensity. We're going back to a winner. We're going back to soccer, specifically a game where I like to do this for my folks, my guys and girls over at Fantasy Guru. I like to give you a bet. You can place it the night before, wake up with more money in your bank account than you went to bed with. This is the 7:30 a.m. game on Saturday morning for soccer. Arsenal at home versus Tottenham Hotspur, the North London Derby. Derby, we say Derby. D-E-R-B-Y. It basically means these teams are close. They hate each other. It's a big rivalry. Think Yankees, Red Sox. Think Ohio State, Michigan. These teams are separated by just 4 miles in North London, and they do sincerely hate each other. Typically, two very average teams. This year, Arsenal sits first, Tottenham sit third. The home team hasn't lost since 2014. You have to go back 17 games to find a game where they did lose. Two very talented teams. I think we see goals here. The total is sitting at 2.75. We're not going to touch that. We're going a different route. I like both teams to score and over 2.5. That's minus 110 on most sports books. I also don't mind Arsenal to win and over 1.5 goals. That's plus 145. And if you want to get cheeky, a draw and over 1.5, 1-1-2-2 is plus 340. But our bet, both teams to score and over 2.5, minus 110. Good luck. Adios.
It's always lunchtime here. Now back to Kyle Elfrink and Ray Flowers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Duke, for that. He knows that I am a Spurs fan. He was unwilling to make a call one way or the other in that Gunners-Spurs matchup. If nothing else, if you hate the LA Rams like Ray Flowers does, you should hate Arsenal because Stan Kroenke, Ray, owns both. So
well, there you go. Yeah.
Hate Arsenal. There you go. Come early tomorrow morning at 7:30 for that kickoff. We welcome you back to Lunch Money. Reminder, coming up in about 10 minutes from now, Austin Nace is going to join us, College to Campus. Get you set for week 5 of the NCAA football season. Before that, though, Ray, it is time for our quick lunch hunch. Long shot bet. What do you have for this Friday?
Yeah, I'm going to the world of baseball. And this is one that on the surface seems pretty obvious, but you dig into it, I think it's still good enough to take. It's plus 185. And that one is that the Braves and the Mets are going to be under 5 runs today. Reason I say that is we have Jacob deGrom, who went out there last time and had his worst game in 2 years. So he's going to look to rebound from that. He's facing Max Fried. Fried is basically allowed, let me see this. He's allowed 5 runs his last 4 starts. He's allowed since July 4th more than 3 runs just a single time. So he's basically 5-2, 6-2 every time out. We know what deGrom can do. And Annalise is at stake. This is playoff baseball right now. Yeah. So plus 185, Braves and Mets under 5 runs, low scoring game today.
This is huge. Atlanta's a game out right now. And this is very critical because whoever wins the NL East gets a bye in the first round. Now, there's been debate on this, Ray. Do you want to buy or do you not? Because, like, you lose your groove, if you will. Mm-hmm. Give me the bye, man. I would much rather have that bye, not have to worry about one of these wild card teams. Plus, the obvious, you get to set your rotation. You don't have to waste your arms in the wild card series. So I am pro win the NL East instead of saying, oh, we want to be sharp and we don't want to sit down for 5 days or so.
Oh, I totally agree with you. Yeah. And then again, everyone plays this different. And there's all the strategies. Do you rest guys? Do you play guys? What do you want to do? Win. How about that? Win.
My lunch hunch, you might recall 2 weeks ago, Ray, whenever I was just slamming the entire state of Kansas.
You were.
Remember that? Yeah. I'm a Zoo guy. We're supposed to hate KU. I'm actually betting on KU with my lunch hunch. My Mizzou Tigers had another embarrassing loss in a century's worth of embarrassing losses last week. This time they blew it to Auburn. I'm still rooting on the black and gold, but I got to give credence to what they're doing in Lawrence, Kansas. Kansas has a chance to go 5-0 tomorrow. Kansas is going to be hosting Iowa State. Kansas has been like 2-10 every year for the past 8 years. Like, they're terrible. They are an underdog for this game. It's a homecoming game for Kansas. They're going to have another sellout. Going to have about 50,000 there in Lawrence, Kansas. They got a good rushing offense. I think in the last every game this year, they've been over 200 yards rushing. They have 3 different guys who have at least 4 rushing touchdowns. Now, Iowa State's legit. In fact, for those who worry about the future, like NFL stars, there's a guy on Iowa State, Xavier Hutchinson. Xavier Hutchinson, wide receiver. Check this out through 4 games. 36 catches, 403 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Now, Iowa State hasn't played a whole lot of competition. They played Baylor, who's a top 25 team, lost to them last week. Kansas is winning this. They're a 3-point dog. If you take them straight up on the money line, plus 130. Home team, playing Iowa State, looking for history, sellout crowd. They have cared nothing about football at that school for well over a decade. And if they win this week, Kansas is going into the top 25 for the first time since 2009. So take the Jayhawks straight up to win against Iowa State. See, Ray, a man like me, I am not petty. I realize that if there's money to be made, I will back the enemy Jayhawks.
I appreciate that, because that, a lot of times people think with their heart when you should be thinking with your old noggin when you're talking about money.
Before we get to our treasure trove, Ray, we got some news on the Dolphins and Tua Tagovailoa. What's the update there?
Yeah, he did come back on the plane last night, like you said. Apparently, he was dealing with some headaches. Not surprising. He was obviously Mike McDaniel, the head coach, is fielding all the questions now, and he basically said they're not even to the point of thinking about a timetable with Tua. They're still running some tests to determine everything and all that, but he's okay. Still having some headaches. Unclear when he's going to return, and I guess the saga continues, Kyle.
Okay, so we'll wait and see. Now, they do have 10 days between what happened last night and week 5. And again, we just don't know. And again, we got to trust the same doctors that nobody trusted last week. So if a decision is to start him next week, you will hear a lot of howling on a Twitter follow near you. No doubt about that. You may even hear Ray Flowers do some howling. Maybe. I don't know. Ray, the treasure trove. Every Friday, you and I go into our own personal collections, sports or otherwise, and we geek out. We talk about it. We enjoy it. We love talking collectibles here on Lunch Money. Ray, what are you presenting out of your treasure trove today?
Not because this is, the greatest collectible ever. I think it's, I did some quick looking. It's like $40-50, so it's not very expensive. But it's interesting because when I got this years ago, when was this? I'll to find out what the date was on this thing. 2009. You think to yourself, hey, this guy's a Hall of Famer. He's a Yankee. Maybe this will be worth something. It's not why I got it. I was a first baseman myself growing up. We talked about Todd McFarland earlier in the week.
Yeah.
The creator of Spawn. Remember, he's buying all the baseballs for the home runs and everything. Got a McFarland figure. Some people may not or remember that he actually did sports figures. I don't know if they still do them. But what I've got here is a Lou Gehrig.
Oh, wow.
Right? So it's the little figure. It's from his, his speech. Luckiest man on the face of the earth, with his little microphone there, from when he basically was admitting to the world his career was over. But yeah, so it's a little statue here, and I don't know, what is it, 5-6 inches, whatever it might be.
And those, for people who've not seen them up close, so they can probably tell on the image you got, that is beyond cool, by the way. Ray, they are very almost film-like with how well done those statues are. It's, we've all seen the starting lineups from back in the 90s.
Yeah, those are not good.
Yeah, they're kind of corny, kind of cartoony. These are not what you've got here. That stuff is very accurate and lifelike, if you will.
It is. And it's got a little, for those people, if we're going to grade it, it's got a little damage.
Ray, that's going to pull it down to an 8.7.
Yeah, little damage there on the backside, but we still got the hologram and it's still in the package. But yeah, it's kind of neat. They've got, apparently in this series, they had Babe Ruth, Bo Jackson, Nolan Ryan, George Brett, and Raleigh Fingers.
Yeah.
And you'll love this. I think I might even have this one somewhere. The Nolan Ryan one's got the blood on his arm from when he had the fight with Robin Ventura.
That's awesome.
Get it to focus in. That red spot.
I can see it up here on the shoulder.
Yeah. But
man, I love that Raleigh Fingers. You get them in the Gold A's jersey. That's the one you need to hunt down, Ray. Get on that for me. Get on that Raleigh Fingers one.
I think I have the Nolan Ryan one somewhere. I definitely never had the Raleigh Fingers one. But yeah, they're They're pretty cool. So yeah, I think it's like, again, $40-$50. It's nothing fancy, but we talked about McFarlane earlier in the week. So there it is.
I love it. I love that one, Ray. Good choice. Mine, I noticed you have a little damage to yours. Now, I am going to risk by showing this off, like this could be a disaster. Because if I were to drop this thing, Ray, I might bust into tears, okay?
Okay, well, use two hands.
This is something that, my son always wants to play with this. He's 3 years old, and I do let him roll it around. But I always stand right on top of him, like flies at a rib roast. And I don't let him mess with it too much. This is a Lego. I put this together. This is of the James Bond DB5, the Aston Martin from Goldfinger from the 60s that Sean Connery drove around in. Put this together. It's got moving parts, the wheels. You can lift up the engine. You can show it in there.
Nice.
Let's see. The wheels all work. They're real rubber, which I've always heard, right? This is a fascinating factoid.
Okay.
Do you know that Lego makes more rubber tires than any other company in the world, even tire makers?
I didn't know that.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Now there's a lot of things that go on. There's a ton of moving parts. Like you can, there's a little stick shift in here, and the stick shift, I'll see if you can see how the guns pop up.
Nice.
Right there with the headlight.
Yeah.
Guns are out. Now he's hit the stick shift. They stop.
Wow.
You can switch the license plate just like you could in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Now here's one I'm going to try, and this could cause a disaster here.
Be careful.
Well, first off, I got to tell you, because back in the 60s, this was a cool item, and it's actually a part. They have a little cell phone in there.
Nice.
A little hidden phone for James Bond to contact the home base.
Right.
Let's see. What else do I need to show here? Oh, okay. So you see the bumper here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the James Bond, if anybody who has seen the movie, there is a scene where they are driving this car around, and the bad guy is sitting in the passenger seat with his gun being held to Sean Connery, and Sean Connery is driving. There is a part where he pulls it back, hits the button, and the guy flies out of the car.
Mm-hmm.
So watch this, Ray. We'll try this. Not promising anything, but if I pull back this little thing,
what flies out?
It flies out. Then you can reset everything, and you're back to your car. So there it is. There's also the bulletproof mirror that goes up and down.
Right.
Like that. Let's see. There's a lot of cool little things on this. This is all like engine stuff, Ray. Like here's, the inside, the bottom. Here's the bottom of the thing. It rolls around. It's all very cool. I got this for my birthday. I think it was my 40th birthday. And what it's not a cheap Lego, as you might be able, but so people might say, "My God, you spend that much on Lego." It was a birthday gift. And what I love about Legos, and later, whenever I finish my next Lego project, I will bring that on for the treasure trove. But Ray, what I love about these is literally I can sit down for 20 minutes, work on them, put them away, come back a month later, work on. I'm not somebody who just knocks them out and finishes them off. So this one probably took about a year. It could have been done in like 2 days, but it took me about a year. And now I'm working on a new Lego, but it's got all the cool stuff that a Lego has. And the other thing, Ray, I know nothing about like machinery and automobiles. A lot of this stuff, when you put it together, is based off the same principles.
Right.
So like you can see the engine parts moving and how things connect, how the brakes work, all that. So that is my treasure trove, the Lego DB5 of James Bond.
I've heard about this. You told me that you got this, and Kyle and I live 2,000 miles apart, so I haven't actually seen it. So that's kind of cool to see it, because I've heard you mention it before. I've done Legos. I have Legos, and I've had some pretty involved Legos, but I've never seen one that involved.
Now Ray, they got all the Star Wars ones.
I have some myself. Maybe I should bring them out at some point.
But they have like a Death Star, Ray. I don't know if you've seen this Death Star. Yeah, it's just, and it opens up. Yeah. You can like open up the Death Star and see on the inside.
It's kind of on a bucket list of things to get for me. But I am the kind of guy that I sit down and I spend 4 hours and just do it, or 2 hours and just do it, whatever it is. But I'd never seen that James Bond car in person. And usually you get something that fires, right? Maybe a little missile or something.
Yeah.
Your car has like 12 things. That's super cool.
Yeah, it's got a lot. I didn't even show them all. It's got a lot of unique attributes here. But Anyway, that's the treasure trove for
Nice.
today. I like your Lou Gehrig thing was very detailed, and so is this. So good stuff. That is the treasure trove for this Friday. We'll take a quick timeout, quick breather, and on the flip side, we're going to be joined by Austin Nace. We're going to talk some college football with him. So a quick break here, and we got more of Lunch Money. Final hour coming your way as we lead you into the weekend right here on the Bettor Sports Network.
Corey Nando and Friends, presented by Mayo Media.
When you're a celebrity quarterback, you got to be a champion. Russell Wilson has been a champion, not a champion no more. Let me read off some of the names right now playing better football at the quarterback position than Russell Wilson. Mitchell Trubisky, who's been a dog, has better numbers than Russell Wilson. Matthew Stafford with Tommy John, better than Russell Wilson. Mac Jones, who throw more passes to the other team than to his own teammates, better than Russell Wilson. 5'5" Baker Mayfield, better than Russell Wilson. $2 Topps Chrome Geno Smith, better than Russell Wilson.
Not $2 anymore, man.
Daniel 10 cents on the dime Jones, better than Russell Wilson. Jacoby Brissett can only throw the ball 4 yards down the field, better than Russell Wilson. Jameis Winston with 4 broken bones on his back, better than Russell Wilson. The list goes on and on and on of people playing better football than Russell Wilson. Celebrity quarterback, he's up here. NFL quarterback, he's down here.
Moose and Keith.
Moose, are you aware that there were 2 gentlemen walking behind you while we were talking?
Yes.
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 I saw some guys walking with suitcases or some kind of bags or something.
Angelo, Dave, here's what I love about you. Like, I've never met you in person. I appreciate you looking out. Like, because I've got these like noise canceling headphones on. If I was not paying attention, you're like, by the way, there are people in the background.
You're so dialed into what we're doing. And I saw these guys just walking. I just was making sure that you knew that they were there. Because, I mean, if you're not, I get engaged. When I look at Irizarry, I get engaged and I'm looking and I'm listening on the edge of my seat. We're all doing our best here. I didn't know if you knew they were there. I was starting to text Irizarry. Does he know? I do have your number, Moose. I got to call you.
Yeah.
What's so funny, Keith? Stop laughing. There was guys walking behind him. They looked like big guys, too.
They were,
Angelo.
Yes. The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis.
Someone today asked me a question, and they said, should I pick up Tyler Conklin? And then it was like, what about Logan Thomas? I said, look, and I've said it on this show. What you're doing now is you're getting the guy who did well the previous week, and then it's a cycle. Then you're going to drop him and want the next guy. Logan Thomas scored a touchdown in week 2. He did it in week 3. Now you want to get rid of him. If your tight end scores a touchdown, you're going to be happy. You're not going to look at the 3 for 44. He scored a touchdown.
Right.
Then he doesn't score a touchdown. Oh, damn, he only gave me 6 points. I got to get another one. And that's the problem with the tight end position. You've seen some of the guys in that mid-tier, right? Njoku had 2 bad weeks, monster week. Freiermuth, we saw it with 2, right? Quiet in week 3. Week 2, scored a touchdown. Good week. That's how it is. And, you got to start looking at these tight ends who kind of on the field a lot, running routes. But that's going to be the nature of the position if you don't have one of those top ones. Once you get past like that top 6, that's what you're dealing with.
Bettor Sports Network is betting, fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better.
Corey Nando and Friends, presented by Mayo. It's always lunchtime here. Now back to Kyle Elfrink and Ray Flowers.
With us. Moving along on a Friday, Kyle and Ray with you on Lunch Money. Ray, it says here that Tua was flying back with the Dolphins last night, was sitting next to his head coach, Mike McDaniel, and the two of them watched MacGruber on their way home, and they enjoyed it, which to me indicates there was a concussion somewhere along the line. If you sat and made it through 2 hours or an hour, Gruber, there might be something a little off.
Our buddy Jeff Manns over at fantasyguru.com, MacGruber is one of his favorites. I tried.
MacGruber, wait a second. Here's the thing. MacGruber is funny, but it deserves like 90 seconds. Okay.
Yeah.
It does not deserve a feature-length movie. That's the problem.
And I've watched clips like on YouTube, which are funny, like you're saying. The short. I would never watch the hour-and-a-half movie or whatever the hell it is. But I think that's the perfect movie if you're, it's Friday night, you've been out with your buddies, you had 9 beers, you're getting home to eat some pizza, throw on some MacGruber.
Yeah. McGruber, I have no problem with McGruber, but you're really searching through the queue of things you've already gone through. Like, what the hell, McGruber? Let's watch that. Let's talk about things that might be more enjoyable on your Saturday. Things that if you say, oh my gosh, it's McGruber or bust, we got something else for you. College football. College football is worth watching on a Saturday. And tomorrow is a pretty good Saturday. No doubt. Joining us now to give us a preview of what we can follow on Saturday, Austin Nace is with us. You can find him on Campus Canton. That is coming your way 8 a.m. tomorrow. Austin and crew will get you set for the Saturday to come right here on the Bettor Sports Network. Austin, good to see you, sir. How you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me on, guys. I wasn't expecting a McGruber lead into this, but could do a lot worse than that. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah. There are worse movies probably than McGruber. Like I would rather watch McGruber than like Still Magnolias. That is no doubt. I would choose that route. Since you are on lunch money, Austin, every time we have a guest, which isn't every day, but when we have a guest on, we like to ask them what was for lunch. So what was for lunch today, Austin?
Friday is always kind of the last of the week's meal prep. So today, I believe we made some paella earlier this week, actually. So
wow.
A little chicken. Yeah, a little chorizo. I don't have kids. I have time to do these things on Sundays. Saturday is my big football day, as we're about to talk about here in a minute. So
yeah, Ray, have you ever the paella thing? Have you ever been to one of the parties where they have like the big open air fire and then the big paella tray?
Yeah, the pot that's like the size of a garbage can top or what? Yeah.
Now is that how you do it, Austin, or is this more of an inside the kitchen routine?
It's an inside, but still in a big skillet, and yeah, we throw some different stuff in there every time. So
I'm digging it. Paella. That's the first time we've gotten a paella mention here on Lunch Money. So
boom. Well, there we go. I'm glad
Austin for that.
Marked one down for me. Perfect.
Absolutely. Tomorrow I mentioned, Austin, the schedule's a little better. I think I counted up 5 matchups between top 25 teams. We've got Oklahoma State, Baylor, Bama taking on Arkansas, Florida State and Wake, NC State and Clemson, and then the other one was Kentucky, Ole Miss. If I am a typical dude who my wife won't let me watch more than 3.5 hours of football on a Saturday, if I had one of those 5 games, what's the one I should choose to watch on Saturday?
Yeah, I think there are probably 2 different answers to this. Like, do you want to watch the most entertaining game, or do you want to watch the one that ends up probably having the bigger impact on things moving forward? If you're just looking for pure entertainment, I think you have to probably go with the Oklahoma State Baylor game. I think those are 2 teams that we thought would be stout defensively, usually are pretty stout defensively, but this year, for one reason or another, are less so than we expected. Oklahoma State lost their defensive coordinator. He's now over at Ohio State. And Baylor, I mean, they just lost a couple of really athletic guys to the draft. So both those teams have really struggled defensively. Offensively, though, have a ton of speed, have a ton of skill, have pretty good quarterback play overall. So I think if you're looking pure entertainment, I'm going that one. If you're looking for the one that I think shapes the rest of the season, then I think you got to watch that Alabama game. I think Alabama is just appointment watching every week if you're kind of trying to keep tabs on national title race, on Heisman race. Your NFL team's bad. Who might be taking it at the 3rd pick this year? Odds are it might be in that game. So I kind of 2 different answers there, but those are the 2 that I would say you probably should be tuning into depending on what you're looking for.
Austin, Clemson, and I'm not a college football guy, but I know Clemson's always good, and they're good yet again this season. I think they're 5th in the country right now. How does this team stack up to some of the previous iterations? Is this a team that you're excited about? Is this a team that's got a chance for a championship? Are they kind of just there because they're Clemson? Talk to us to that team a little bit.
Yeah, that's been a big discussion with us, at Campus to Canton and kind of in the greater college football space this season. Is has Dabo Swinney, head coach at Clemson there, kind of been carried by some quarterbacks. He had Deshaun Watson there. They were really good when Deshaun Watson was there. And then he had Trevor Lawrence, and they were really good when Trevor Lawrence was there. Outside of that, Clemson hasn't quite been that elite program that many people think of during his tenure. They don't have that guy right now. DJ Uiagalelei, 3rd year there at Clemson, flashed as a true freshman. He filled in for Trevor Lawrence. I believe he had COVID in 2020 for like a game and a half. was pretty good, was really, really bad last year. Like, it's hard to overstate how bad he was last year. He's one of the worst 5 quarterbacks in all of college football by most metrics. He's bounced back a little bit this year. Still isn't that guy, the Trevor Lawrence, the Deshaun Watson. And I think that holds Clemson back. They're very good defensively, but offensively, they're kind of hit or miss. That the offensive line isn't great. The weapons are all kind of iffy. So I don't think this is like the Clemson that you think can compete for a national championship. But this defense is so good that I think 5th in the country is probably the right spot for them. And I still think they could make the playoff just off the back of how strong this defensive group is.
Austin Nace of Campus to Canton joining us here on Lunch Money. And again, I talked about I'm not a college football guy. I hear Kentucky, I think hoops, right? But they're a top 10 team right now. Talk to us a little bit about that squad. What are they deserving of this ranking? What do you anticipate from them moving forward?
At 7's a little bit rich. I think it's a little fraudulent at this point. Kentucky hasn't really played anybody. Their schedule is not as bad as like Michigan has played like Hawaii and some really, really bad schools. But Kentucky's hasn't been that much better outside of the Florida win. They took on Northern Illinois. They played a directional school as well, Southeast Missouri or something like that, and weren't amazing in that one. They lost a lot from last year's team, which was a pretty good team. And I think their ranking right now is kind of a piggyback off of how they did last year. You know, they had an emerging quarterback. They ran the ball very effectively. Were one of the best rushing teams in the country last year. And then defensively, big plays, turnover plays, kind of their calling card. Well, they lost 2 of their 5 top offensive linemen to the draft and haven't really replaced them very well. They lost their offensive line coach, who's now moved over to Alabama. The quarterback hasn't progressed a ton from last year, Will Levis. He's still, kind of making some mistakes that maybe you'd hope he doesn't. And, as a result of all these things, the rushing game hasn't gotten going at all. They're one of, in the bottom 3rd in the country in explosive plays. So they can't, that you think if we're a running team, we'll just churn the ball. Well, 4 yards in a cloud of dust or whatever, we'll get down the field. Well, they aren't doing that very well this year, and they're not picking up chunk plays either. So the offense just is really struggling. I think, they're a 7-point dog, I believe, in this one. And that feels fair. Like, I don't know that they're the 7th best team in the country at this point.
Austin Nace is with us tomorrow, Campus to Canton, getting you set for the Saturday slate. We're doing a bit of a preview here on Lunch Money. Austin, about 20 minutes ago, I lost my degree to the University of Missouri because I was singing the praises of Kansas. I was saying, Kansas can win. Kansas can go to 5-0. I'm supposed to hate everything that is a chicken hawk to our west. But I'm wondering, have I lost my mind saying get on board the Kansas Jayhawk train, at least for this weekend? Iowa State comes to town. It would be a slight upset. They're a 3-point dog, Kansas is. But do you like them to pull off that upset?
Probably. I wouldn't put money on that game, to be honest. That 3-point line feels pretty fair. I think Iowa State, while not a perfect team, is decent. But this Kansas team is exciting. New head coach last year, Lance Leipold, he's kind of reshaped this team in his image, which is a team that can really effectively run the ball, efficient quarterback play, doesn't make a ton of mistakes. And that's what Kansas is this year. They have a stable of running backs. They can deploy any of them at any given time, pick up tough yardage there. And then Jalen Daniels is like the surprise of the season, I think. Looked solid down the stretch last year, but he's really taken his game to new heights here, the Kansas quarterback. He's in the Heisman discussion. We're going to talk a little bit about that tomorrow on Campus to Canton. He's like in the top 10 in terms of odds to win this thing. I don't think Kansas can do well enough to end the season here for him to finish there, but they're an exciting story. They're a young team. They're kind of finding themselves. So it wouldn't shock me at all. And they're hot. I mean, they're 4-0. Game day last week. A lot of big things happening there at Kansas. And you got to feel good for them for how they haven't had more than, I believe, 3 wins since 2009, I believe. So, I mean, it's been rough. So I shout out to Kansas. They've been great this year. I hope they win. I'm rooting for them.
The Pittsburgh Pirates of college football, if you want.
Hey, I'm a Pirates fan. Let's
Sorry.
let's watch ourselves here.
Well, so at least the Pirates have hope. So down the road, some little hope. Okay, so you don't love that underdog pick. Is there an underdog on tomorrow's Saturday slate that you are feeling for an upset?
Ooh, that is a good one. I'm trying to flip through here real quick. So I like 2 weeks ago, I probably would have said I think NC State could pull this upset. Now I'm really not so sure. How about Mississippi State though against Texas A&M? I believe they are an underdog right now. I don't have the line in front of me. Texas A&M ranks 17th in the country, but Mississippi State is a pretty good team overall. Like they're fairly effective running the ball this year. They've got they're a team that has just a stable backs there to kind of choose from and roll through this Mike Leach offense. We might know it from his days at Texas Tech when they were very explosive. We might know him from Gardner Minshew's days as the quarterback at Washington State, some of those teams. Well, now he's at Mississippi State, kind of silencing the doubters that said that offense could not work in the SEC. And they've been doing some really good things there. So I think that's a game that I would point to. Texas A&M doesn't really have good quarterback play. They are starting to get a little bit banged up on offense with some guys. Aeneas Smith, their leading receiver, is done for the year here. So I think that's a game that I would point to and say it would not shock me to see Texas A&M lose another game. They should have lost last week too. I mean, they should be on a 2-game losing streak right now. They got lucky at the end of that game last week against Arkansas.
Austin, talk to us about Washington and UCLA, two teams that are 4-0 right now going up against each other. How do you see that game playing out?
This Washington team is really exciting. You know, a lot of these college teams, we just talked about Mike Leach and how he's kind of moved from place to place and brought his offense with him. Well, Washington's new head coach, Kalen DeBoer, was at Indiana a couple years ago. Those couple years at Indiana was really good. They beat Ohio State. Then he went to Fresno the past couple years, made them kind of a giant slayer, elevated their quarterback, Jake Hayner. He's now a legitimate NFL draft prospect. Well, now he's up at Washington. And he's got Michael Penix, his old Indiana quarterback, kind of recreating some of that magic they had a couple of years ago. Unlike that Indiana team, they actually have some really, really talented athletic guys at wide receiver, and they can actually protect him. Their offensive line is one of the top 5 or 10 in the country, depending on what metric you're using. So they can protect this in Michael Penix, who's had injury issues. That's great. He's not getting banged up. These guys are getting open a lot more for him. And as a result, this Washington team, which was just like an abject failure offensively over the past few years, is one of the top teams in the country. So I really like watching this Washington team. I think they're fun to root for. This UCLA team really relies on quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson and the running back Zach Charbonnet. And they kind of, if those two aren't great, it really, really hurts their chances of winning. I think Washington can do just enough in this one to pull this one off. I like Washington in this game, and I like that. I mean, their schedule the rest of the season is not very strong. This is a team that we could see in like the Pac-12 championship. They play Oregon, but they don't play Utah. They don't play USC. So this team, it could roll on here this season.
Yeah, so a big game for them. That one is tonight, by the way. It's a 10:30 Eastern kickoff. I think ESPN has the coverage. So if you want to start your college football weekend early, you can do it tonight with that showdown between the Huskies and the Bruins. Last thing for you, Austin, you mentioned that you guys would be talking a little bit about the Heisman tomorrow. Maybe it doesn't rise to that level, but we have a lot of people, of course, follow the NFL. They're excited for the next batch of rookies. Is there a guy in the college game that for you personally, kind of every week, you're like, okay, this is a highlight reel. I want to watch him. I want to get a couple of quarters of his team or his play in action. Is there a guy maybe that we don't think of as a Heisman contender, but we should think of as a guy at the next level that could cause some excitement?
So I don't think he's considered a legitimate Heisman contender, at least certainly not compared or looking at, kind of some of the betting stuff right now. But Texas running back Bijan Robinson is just my guy. I said before he got into college that he was, the day that he stepped on the field, was going to be the best running back in college football. And he's basically been that. At Texas, he's been the entire offense the past 2 years. I've seen him comp to a couple different guys. Like Edgerrin James is a name that I hear thrown around a lot, and I think that's a pretty good one. 220-pound plus back, very, very good receiver. You can split him out wide, and he can do a ton of things there. He picks up the tough yardage, but he's still going to run a 4.5 or less. Like he's still, a very, very athletic guy. He's got a very well-rounded game. He's probably the best running back prospect since Saquon Barkley. I don't think that's too much of a stretch to say. not quite that level of athlete, but as a running back, he's extremely good. And Texas kind of building something there. They might have their starting quarterback back this week, Quinn Ewers. So he's a guy that I just like tuning in because I think he can hurt you in so many. Against Alabama, they held him to like 40 yards rushing, but he caught a bunch of passes and had 80 yards and a touchdown. Like he can hurt you so many different ways. He's a guy that I just love watching. And I have no doubt he's going to be very good in the NFL.
Texas home tomorrow night. So if you want to view Robinson, 7:30 the kickoff. Take it on West Virginia. And I'm sure that game is on somewhere. There's always a game on somewhere on Saturday when it comes to college football. So you should be able to take in Robinson and get ready for the next coming in terms of backfield rookies. Because he will be one that when he is drafted, as long as he lands with a team like Najee Harris did, he'll probably be a high draft pick like Najee Harris was when he came in as a rookie with the Steelers. Austin Nace tomorrow morning, 8 to 10 a.m. It is Campus to Canton coming your way here on the Bettor Sports Network. Austin, thanks for the preview. Have fun tomorrow. We'll all be tuning in, and I'm sure we'll talk down the road. Okay, man?
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Thank you very much.
You bet. Austin Nace hanging out with us here on Lunch Money as we talk a little bit of college football. Ray already put that in your memory banks. Bijan Robinson, he will be highly drafted in fantasy football circles next year. Guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
Hopefully the Jets get them so that they have Hall, Carter, and now Robinson. And we've got like 3 superstar rookies where every year we want a different rookie in that Jets backfield. Again, big thank you to Austin for joining us. We will take a quick break, hand it off to Duke. He's going to be in the den. On the flip side, a lot of things to get to before we send you on your way for the weekend. We got a few more games to preview for week 4. We're going to make our picks against the spread. Got a little bit of baseball. We've got more injury news. We'll tell you about we're getting ready for the weekend. Dessert out the door. That's all of it. A lot of it in the final 30 minutes of Lunch Money right here on the Bettor Sports Network.
Good afternoon, bettors. It's Duke. I'm back better than ever. Presented to you as always by FantasyGuru.com. Welcome back to Duke's Den, where I try to make you money one bet at a time. Thank you as always for tuning into Lunch Money. Kyle and Ray, fun Friday show for you guys. Let's kick it off with let's do another bet. But first, before we do that, let's recap what we have so far from today. I gave you, of course, the North London Derby, Arsenal versus Tottenham, 7:30 a.m. Saturday morning. I can't emphasize this enough. You are not going to wake up to put in the bet. It does not matter who starts and who sits. Both teams to score over 2.5. That's -110 on most books. If you want to get cheeky, you can go draw and over 1.5. That's +340. I do think it's going to be a close game. Both teams scoring there. Other games I like around the EPL, then we'll move to college football. We already have our bet. Fulham and Newcastle, both teams to score. We got that at -140. A little juicy, but it's now moved to -145. So pick up a nickel there. West Ham to win -105. Southampton, Everton under 2.5. That's -122. And like I said, of course, we have the both teams to score and over 2.5 in the North London Derby. How about for college football? We have Rutgers and the points +40.5 against Ohio State. I wanted to get that in. I had a feeling it was going to move. It has. It is now -39.5. So we pick up a full point of closing line value there. I will release my full card today, Friday, on FantasyGuru.com for college football. Last week went 4-2, up 2 units. Of course, we have soccer, MMA, everything else going on. Ted Schuster, CJ Kaltenbach, putting in bets for the NCAA channel as well. And then, of course, Tyler, Jeff Mans, Ted as well, CJ, the whole crew putting in bets for NFL. So head over there to FantasyGuru.com, use code BETTOR, BETTOR for 20% off. Let's give you another bet. There's a line that stinks to me. It stinks out loud. This opened at 3.5. It's now been pushed to 6. It was 6.5, came back a little bit. I'm talking about Oklahoma taking on the TCU Horned Frogs. Now, you might be saying, but Duke, they just looked awful. They gave up 1 billion yards to Kansas State. They lose 41-34 as a big favorite. I know. And Dylan Gabriel threw for 4 touchdowns. Offense played pretty damn well. It's not that great to see the defense giving up this many points, especially for Brett Venables, known for his defensive capabilities. But Kansas State has a unique situation. 28th-year senior Adrian Martinez, a Nebraska transfer, absolutely tore them up on the ground in addition to the air. 5 total touchdowns. What do you have, like 382 total yards of offense? That dual threat aspect is what really gave them trouble. Max Duggan is not a dual threat quarterback. He's strictly a pocket passer. I like Oklahoma getting are giving up less than a touchdown in the spot. I'm laying the 6. I'm taking the Sooners for a big bounce back. They need a win. Let's get it, Oklahoma. Adios. Good afternoon, bettors.
It's always lunchtime here. Now back to Kyle Elfrink and Ray Flowers.
We will take you up until 3 o'clock. Kyle Elfrink and Ray Flowers with you. When we are done, it'll be Corey Nando and friends headed your way. Hope all is going well on a Friday. Ray, how you feeling on this Friday? You got big weekend plans? What's coming up Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Not big plans. Yeah, Sunday, it's all football all the time. So Sundays is just football. There's never any fun on those days. It's all work, Kyle. Saturday, I actually don't have plans. Usually we go to the beach or such. Next week you got all his birthday. So I don't know if we're just going to pregame for the birthday next week.
You got to get all the horns and the hats and the banners and everything. You got to prep for this birthday party.
We do.
Don't half-ass this dog party.
No.
I don't want you to do that.
On Instagram at Ollie Aussie Dog, if you guys want to check it out. So we'll probably hit the beach up or something light. Saturdays we tend to try to get out there, have some fun. No plans though. What about you?
Okay. Tonight's grilling night.
Okay.
That's the plan here. I love it. Like, I like to grill. My wife really enjoys grilling, so she's always the one bothering me to grill. So today she woke up. I woke up. What's for dinner? She said she wanted to grill. So
like it.
I said, get to it, honey. So we'll have some probably grilled chicken. I'm thinking tonight. Probably eat outside under the stars. I may smoke a cigar tonight.
Ooh.
Ray. I may do that. I smoke about 6 cigars a year.
Okay.
Tonight may be a night for some cigars.
Get them from your dad, or where do you get them?
Get them from my dad.
I don't know.
What do you think, he's Hugh Hefner or something?
No, just like maybe he's like a collector, or he's got
No, hell no.
Okay.
I have I'll buy like $10 cigars every once in a while. I notice I've got one sitting around, so probably need to smoke it. The problem with cigars, and I get it. I'm not a smoker in general. I never had a phase of smoking or anything, but I do enjoy a good cigar. When you don't smoke them, they actually give you a very calming, almost high. They're very nice.
Okay.
But the problem is, Ray, it doesn't matter if I take like 7 showers. You still smell like a cigar. They just stick to you. Remember when you were a kid and they said, like, if you ever got sprayed by a skunk, you were supposed to take a bath in tomato juice?
Tomatoes, yep.
The official drink of Ohio, by the way. I may have to start taking baths in tomato juice to get rid of this cigar scent. Yeah, it's trouble.
Doesn't sound pleasant.
But that'll be Friday night. I think tomorrow there's a kids party, which man, they're the kid turning 4 years old every single day. Because we're at these parties every single day.
Right.
It's getting to the point, Ray, where I'd rather go to a dog party.
Well, it's like when you're 28 or 30 and everyone's getting married every month. So you're now in the birthday party phase of your life.
Yeah, it's a serious birthday party phase. Last week, we were in Chicago, for that wedding, and we got on the L from the airport. We were heading downtown, and behind us was a family, and they were in town for their son's birthday. And we were talking to him, and they had given him the choice. You can have a birthday party. He was probably, I'm guessing, 11. You can have a birthday party, or we will go watch his favorite teams, the White Sox, of all things. He flew in from out of town. I think they were from Oklahoma. For some reason, he likes the White Sox. So he said, no, I want to fly to Chicago, go to a White Sox game. And I was like, that's what I want my son to do. Not the birthday parties. Know this, throwing parties for dogs, renting places out ain't cheap.
It's not
cheap at all.
You better show up. Don't just RSVP and not show up.
Oh yeah, because you pay per person, right?
Yeah.
The number of people that show up.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a headache. So I'm all for this. Hey, let's go do our own thing on your birthday. I don't think that's going to work for number 4. But I know we've got a birthday tomorrow. I think we're open tomorrow night. Sunday, I've got a big event. A friend of mine has a child with Down syndrome, and every year, we donate money, time, all that stuff, golf tournaments, all those good things. And then kind of as a thank you, every year, they invite people to a Cardinals game. Cardinals have like Down syndrome day at the ballpark, and all of the families, all of the kids, people who donate, we get to walk around the outfield grass. We walk along the warning track and then, do a loop, and the kids love it. The parents love it. It's a fun time. But this year, Ray, is extra special because Sunday will be the final home game for Yadier Molina and Albert Pujols.
Yeah.
This is suddenly a hot ticket. Now I get to go for free because I'm a part of the charity and part of the group. But this is going to be fun. So we'll make our trip around Busch Stadium, and then I guess I'll settle in for the last appearance of Pujols and Molina, at least in St. Louis. They go to Pittsburgh next week, but this is kind of the last chance to see him in STL.
Sounds like a pretty nice day. That sounds like a good one.
It'll be good. Weather should be fine. Now, speaking of games, I get those tickets for free, but Ray, they are not free in New York this weekend. We got the watch for number 62. You and I talked about Judge and the balls and 61. I was looking at StubHub this morning, Ray.
Uh-oh.
It's not bad.
It's not bad.
I
Okay.
thought it would be way crazier.
Okay.
Now, I only searched for one seat. Okay, it was one seat. I'm not doing 2 seats, and I'm sure that's much more if you want 2 seats. But if you're just a baseball geek who wants to be there for history, it's not bad at all. Like tonight, left field bleachers, Ray, are anywhere from 300 to 1,000, depending on where you're at. I don't think that's bad at all. Sunday, which is the last game at Yankee Stadium, 125 to 725 in the left field bleachers.
Okay.
The last game of the year, they're playing in Texas, Ray, 110 to 750, and all you can eat buffet.
Ooh.
With those tickets. Now, you telling me if you're like somebody who loves Aaron Judge, you love the Yankees, you want to see baseball history, you get a flight to Dallas. You go to an afternoon game on Wednesday. It's the last game of the year. You have a true chance to see the final home run of the year.
Right.
Plus, you get all you can eat food for like $150. That's the steal of the century there.
I don't think there's ever been an all-you-can-eat option at my home park here with the Giants.
We've got them here in St. Louis, Ray. They are glorious.
Yeah.
They are fantastic, all-you-can-eat options.
Yeah. And maybe, again, if you get the VIP seats down low, like I did the one time I went to the Cardinals game, shout out to the Godfather, Charlie Wiegert, who gave me the seats. It was right behind the home plate. But that does, I mean, it's not inexpensive, but at the same time, like you're saying, you throw a $400 flight in there, $1,000.
Not bad. I mean, like you say, you're the Yankees die hard. You love Judge, whatever it is. Now, the other thing, those are the bleacher prices, Ray. If you want a ticket, and again, this is all on StubHub, and I'm sure you can find cheaper or more. But like just to get into the stadium is $50. Not bad.
Not bad.
Sunday, right now, you can get into Yankee Stadium for $22.
Wow.
I know you're in the upper deck, but that's not bad. And Ray, Texas, last game of the year, Yankees and Rangers in Tech, $11. And you could see like home run 64,
right.
The all-time AL record. So I was surprised. There's no gouging going on. I guess, when you have a 50,000 seat stadium, I guess everybody can get in if they really want to.
Right.
So anyway, for anybody's interested in watching that, if you're in the New York area, there you go. Ray, back to football. Injury updates. Now, we had the news earlier. For those who missed it, Michael Thomas is out. Jameis Winston is out. Amon-Ra St. Brown is out. Not looking good for DeAndre Swift. Not looking good for David Montgomery. Christian McCaffrey, questionable. Those are some of the big names. Ray, we got some more updates. What's going on?
We do. Let me just blast through this. Jarvis Landry's got the ankle issue. He's questionable. He's going to play. Taysom Hill's got the rib issue. He's going to play. Probably see some work at quarterback. And those with him tight end eligible people.
You got to think about it. Yeah.
You got to think about it. DJ Chark is going to play. We talked about him earlier, his ankle issue. He'll be out there. As Kyle noted, the thigh injury with Christian McCaffrey has him listed as questionable. Dan Campbell came out and said that DeAndre Swift is unlikely to play. So I guess it's not officially out, but he's out. Dalvin Cook is expected to play through his shoulder issue. Gabe Davis returned to practice on Friday. Good news for his outlook this weekend. Cordell Patterson, who's been a DNP with a knee issue, he was back at practice today too. Todd Bowles says that Chris Godwin and Julio Jones are both game time decisions. Harrison Butker was not seen at practice, so maybe another week without him for the Chiefs. Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney are both listed as questionable, so both those big defensive pieces could be out there for the Browns. And then a bunch of updates with the Cardinals. AJ Green is out, but Cliff Kingsbury says he's hopeful that J.J. Watt and Rondell Moore will both play. They're going to test Moore out before the game to get clarity on that. Again, if Moore is back out there, that torpedoes the value of Greg Dortch. And James Conner was removed from the injury report, and he will play through his knee issue.
Still expecting a pretty messy Sunday there in the Carolinas. I know they're getting drenched right now. There's more rain tomorrow, and I think rain on Sunday too. The wind will certainly calm down, but that field's going to be soaked for the Panthers and the Cardinals. Okay, thanks for the update there. Let's get back to our game previews. And we were just talking about the Lions, Ray. Let's go to that game. Seattle on the road in the Motor City, taking on Detroit. Now, things may change as we go in the weekend. The last number I saw, Detroit's favored by about 3.5 in this game. Over-under was at 48. That is starting to drop too, depending on what book you're looking at. Seattle plus 170 on the money line. Detroit minus 200. But again, that minus 200 kind of trending towards minus 190, minus 185, depending on your book. So check that out. Seahawks and Lions, Ray, your favorite prop. What are you going with?
Rashad Penny over 71.5 scrimmage yards at minus 115. You look at the match at the Lions have been destroyed. They got lit up in week 1 against the Eagles for 4 rushing touchdowns, but they're allowing the most PPR points to running backs per game this season. They've had 2 guys run for over 95 yards against them, Miles Sanders, Dalvin Cook. 71.5 scrimmage yards for Rashad Penny. Take it, minus 115.
It's interesting, Ray, that you take Penny because my prop is on Kenneth Walker.
Okay.
I think this is a game, and you probably believe this too. Seattle's going to run. I think they have to run. They're on the road. They need to use these 2 guys. And Walker right now, his rushing over-under is 20.5. I'll take that number every day.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see more and more of Walker. It's not enough to start this guy in a fantasy setup, but I think we will start to see more and more of Walker, and I don't fear this matchup. I think he can certainly get those 20.5 yards just by getting a couple of series in place of Penny. And Seattle will do that on occasion. I think they do want to spot a few spots for Walker throughout the 4 quarters of the game. So 20.5 rushing yards, it's minus 115. I'll take the over on that total for Walker. My player to watch, Ray, has got to be Jared Goff. This looked like a really good matchup leading up to today, and then we found out about Amon-Ra St. Brown. We know Swift's not going to be there. We'll see if Goff can do it when he doesn't have all of his pieces. I think earlier in the week, people were elevating this guy to like a low-end QB1. They really like the matchup. We've talked about the numbers in Detroit versus everywhere else. They played better this year. But now it's kind of one of those things where I'm a little uneasy about Jared Goff. It's kind of like I'm getting the full Goff experience within 5 days. I'm going to just call him a player to watch and see if he can maybe continue to flip some opinions by showing up big against the Seahawks.
Yeah, that's a good one. My player to watch is Craig Reynolds, the running back of the Lions. We've all talked about Jamal Williams. He's at the start. We all know that. Not many people are talking about Craig Reynolds. And, as much as we believe, and I fully believe, that Jamal Williams will be the lead running back and see the majority of touches in the backfield, that's not to say that he's going to get 26 touches this week. I mean, they're probably going to still do what they have done, which is involve 2 guys in the backfield. Reynolds is likely to be that second guy. Let's look at that matchup that he's got this week against Seattle. It's early. The Seattle hasn't done a great job stopping the run either. So I think Craig Reynolds, he'll be involved. Does it rise to the level of starting him again? Probably not. If you're getting nuts in the DFS role and you want to play him because he's cheap and he's that one pay down guy, okay, I guess. But I'm just interested to see how he'll be utilized, just how big his role will be.
Who's your fade between the Seahawks and the Lions?
Yeah, my fade, and not a lot of options here that I'm really jazzed about or really feeling like I got a fade, but it's Noah Fant, and it's more just to describe what is going on here. And this is the uncertainty that the Seahawks have put out at the tight end position. I mean, you look at 3 games, Fant has 10 targets, Disley has 8 targets, Parkinson has 4. I mean, they're like, what are you doing? Who uses 3 tight ends in the passing game? Who does that? So Noah Fant, he's faded. Even if he goes out and scores the touchdown with the usage of the other 2 guys, I just don't know how you roster him at the moment.
I'm going to go, Ray, with Rashad Penny as my fade.
Wow.
He just hadn't had it this year through 3 games, and they've given him opportunities. He doesn't have yardage. He doesn't have touchdowns. He's not involved in the receiving game at all. Maybe this is kind of a bust-loose effort. I think you still have to start him if you got him. I mean, honestly, Rashad Penny's one of those guys, when you drafted him, you say he's going to be in my lineup if he's healthy, because he's not making it 17 games. That's not Rashad Penny's MO. But I have been let down by these first 3 games. There's just nothing there, and I think little by little, maybe Pete Carroll's even realizing that this team needs to pass a little more and maybe get Lockett, Metcalf, and Geno Smith all on the same page. So I'm going to say maybe they embrace that side. I think they're going to be playing catch up as well against Detroit. So I'm going to fade Rashad Penny. My watchability on this one, pretty solid, Ray. It's average. It's a 3. I would love to see the likes of St. Brown and Swift out there. That might lift it to a 4. But I think I'll give it a 3. I still don't know what to make of the Seahawks. Like, I don't know if they're average, bad, or a little above average. I think they're bad, but maybe this gives me a read one way or the other this game.
Yeah, I'll go with 2. And the reason I'm going there is I'm not overly excited by these two teams. I agree with you on Seattle. It's uncertain where they're at. When you look at the Lions, their top 2 guys are out, right? So, there's weapons here. I'm always looking at DK Metcalf, and I think Jamal Williams got a chance to shine this week, but I'm going to 2.
Let's move to the Jets and the Steelers. Ugh. This is a no-nothing game, Ray. Jets, Steelers. Pittsburgh favored by a field goal. Over under 41.5. Pittsburgh on the money line minus 175. Jets plus 150. Ray, my favorite prop is the over on passing attempts for one Zach Wilson.
Okay.
It's at 33.5. Now, the Jets have led football in passing in the first 3 weeks of the year. They've done it with Joe Flacco. Ray, he's throwing the football 45, 50 times. Here I get 33.5. They're still going to throw. It's not like Zach Wilson can't throw. It's not like Joe Flacco is some incredibly proficient thrower. Frankly, the Jets are going to throw no matter who the quarterback is. If you're throwing 45, 50 times Flacco, I feel fine, Ray, throwing it 35 times with Zach Wilson. So I'm going to go with the over. That'll get you a minus 105, almost even money on that over at 33.5.
I'm not saying I wouldn't take that, but I don't feel as stoked about it as you do.
I'm stoked.
Yeah, I'm really thinking this offense changes drastically. You can't throw the ball 50 times a week. You can't throw the ball 50 times a week. We all know
but Ray
that.
Drastic could be 38 passes.
Yeah, but what did we see last year from Zach Wilson that would lead us to believe if they're going to win football games if he's throwing it 35 times?
We didn't see anything last year, but Ray, I have to think that's what they want from Zach Wilson. They didn't draft this guy to be the second coming of Justin Fields, right?
I
hope not.
Yeah.
Well, we drafted 2 high-end quarterbacks last year so that they could throw it 15 times a week.
27, 29. Yeah. We'll see. Interesting.
He's got to be over 33. The only fear I have, Ray, is these two teams play so badly on the offensive side that it's like a 14-10 game.
That's I was going to say 17-14, and it's just a slog fest. I mean,
Well, what's your prop then? Let me see if I like yours.
Yeah, my prop is better. You're probably going to disagree with it though. It's Najee Harris time.
Prop, let me guess.
Yeah, Najee Harris time. We're going over 89.5 scrimmage yards. It's a big number. Minus 115. I mean, Harris has got 38 touches the last 2 weeks. All right. You look at the matchup. The Jets have not been good against the run. They allow the 7th most PPR points to running backs. The offense is Najee Harris in the backfield. All the snaps, all the touches. He's involved in the passing game. He's going over 89.5 yards. This will be the week that people that took Najee Harris in the first round can take a breath. There's a lot of concern at the moment.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't, Ray.
Okay.
I disagree with you on this one.
Okay.
I think there's something to this foot.
Okay.
I think there is. He's my fade.
Okay.
Najee Harris. You're right. He's going to get work. You're totally right on that. This guy is trying to play through it. He knows the team needs him. It's early in the season. Like, I think if this were like week 15 or 16, he'd be out. I think he's dealing. He's had 2 injuries to the foot. One was hidden for a month. I don't think it's going away. He'll get the work, Ray. I just don't see the yardage. I think, and the problem is, like, you believe in him this week. I don't. We're both starting him.
Yeah.
Like, I can't bench a guy. Whatever I think of his health or if he's 100% or how fast he can bust through a hole, Ray, he's still getting 15 to 17 touches. Like, I feel that's a given. So I've got to play that. But my expectations are fairly tempered for Najee Harris. So I do disagree with you on your prop.
Kind of figured.
Who's your fade?
My fade is Garrett Wilson. He's got the rib issue. That was something. It's probably nothing, but it's there. He missed some plays last week. He's gone out there and had 24 targets in 2 weeks, and we're just talking about it. He had 24 targets in 2 weeks with a different quarterback. The offense is different this week. And, the whole thing really comes down to what's the offense going to look like? And is the offense this week going to get that play volume up in a game that could be a bit of a slog like we're both describing? So Garrett Wilson to me is someone that people overspent on. I got people. I got Elijah Moore. I got Garrett Wilson. I'm like, why are you involved in Jets passing? You don't want to be involved. I took
Corey throwing 50 times a week. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I took Corey Davis in the 15th round. Okay, I get it, but going out and spending 30% of your budget to add these guys, so he's my guy to fade this week. Health-wise, a little bit, volume-wise, a little bit, quarterback change a little bit.
I think this is a fairly tough spot for Zach Wilson and this Jets offense. I mean, he wasn't good last year, to your point. He's coming off an injury. He probably thinks he's healthy enough, but I wouldn't sweat it that he needs another week probably to get right. I expect rustiness here. He's my guy to follow. I don't want to say watch because I'm not really expecting to see much. Maybe he can surprise me, but I think it's going to be kind of a rough go. Passes, yes, but not good ones, not efficient passes from Zach Wilson. So he will be my player to follow. Who's your guy to follow? Who's your guy to watch?
My guy is Ty Conklin, who's averaging 6 catches a week right now at the tight end position and who's run more routes than any tight end in football.
He's going to be our surprise tight end 1 this year, huh?
No, he is not. Now, and again, it's possible, but everyone's got to remember, Elijah Moore can't do it. If Garrett Wilson's doing it, if Ty Conklin's doing it, if Breece Hall is doing it, I mean, they all can't do it. They're not throwing 50 times a week here. And I don't think Zach Wilson particularly made tremendous use of the tight end position either last year. So Conklin's my guy to watch to see how he's involved in this offense.
Watchability for the Jets and Steelers, I'm down at a 1.5, and I think that's the lowest I've had of the week. 1.5 for the Jets and Steelers.
I'm down, but I'm going my standard 2.
2. At least it's not you had a 1, didn't you, somewhere?
I did last week, I think. Yeah.
No, I think you had one this week, a 1.
Ooh,
I want to say
back.
maybe not. I don't know. I mean, I could be incorrect. We're doing a lot of games leading up. We've got one more to do. We'll save Monday night, San Francisco and LA, for Monday when we're here on Lunch Money. But Ray, let's go to Sunday night. It'll be the Chiefs and the Bucks. Pretty well a pick 'em. The homestanding Bucks are favored by a point. This game will be in Tampa, by the way. They're not moving it, so they're going to play it in Tampa. Over-under is 46. That's a number that has dropped this week. Pretty well a split decision on the money line. Minus 115 for the Chiefs, minus 105 for Tampa. Ray, if there's a prop to bet between the Bucks and the Chiefs, what one is it?
2 touchdown passes for Patrick Mahomes. It's only a minus 210. We're all expecting it, but he threw one touchdown. Yeah, I know. He threw one touchdown pass last week. Okay, so that you got history there. He leads the league with touchdown passes inside the 10-yard line. They're getting close. He's throwing touchdown passes. He's got 2 scores in 6 straight games on Sunday Night Football. He's got 18 touchdown passes, his last 6 on the road. They're going to play this thing more straight. We're going to get rid of the nonsense and all the just going to play some straight football. He's throwing 2 touchdown passes. It's more to make a point than it is obviously about the odds for me.
Okay. Well, my prop, Ray, I guess you could say I'm like Ollie following you through PetSmart on this one. I'm going to follow your lead here.
Okay.
Because you keep telling me it's finished for Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
All right.
So my prop here is Jerick McKinnon over 37.5 rushing and receiving yards. Minus 115. You keep telling me it's over for Clyde Edwards, right? He's done. They got to move on.
McKinnon has led the Chiefs backfield in snaps all 3 games.
Okay, so this is good. 37.5. I'll make that call. My player to watch is Pacheco. Because, Ray, maybe all 3 of these guys, maybe we got a split 1-1-1-1, 33% to all of them. We'll see if Pacheco gets more involved. It should be about time. Like, you think about how this has played out, Ray. He was used in the blowout in week 1. Didn't do anything in week 2. Week 3, he was kind of just there. By now, Ray, with a stifled rushing attack that isn't producing, with McKinnon, who's been in the league for 7 or 8 years, it's not like you can turn to him. Like, this should kind of be the moment for Pacheco. We're 4 weeks into the season. The opportunity is there. I want to see if the Chiefs really grant it to him. It appears it should be there, but we'll see if the Chiefs give him the touches. Who's your guy to watch?
The guy to watch is McCole Hardman. Look, we know the answer is not Marquez Valdes-Scantling. We know the answer is not Sky Moore, who can't even catch a punt. It's got to be McCole Hardman. Let's establish McCole Hardman.
He burned me last week.
Yeah, I mean, this is just they're too much of this underhand stuff, sidearm stuff, behind the back stuff. Let's throw it to the defensive line and let's throw it to the four string. Play it straight, get Hardman involved. Let's get the offense cooking.
Okay, I agree. They get a little cute in Kansas City. Maybe that's part of the success is the cute factor. But you're right, the shovel passes, man. I remember the Rams used to do that stuff all the time with the shovel passes, and defenses then had no clue how to stop it. Defense is a bit better now. My fate is Russell Gage. Mike Evans is going to be back. I think that Julio's probably back out there. Gage had a big week last week, but I think enough guys are back this week to kind of move on from that. I also think the Bucs may be a little run heavy in this matchup against the Chiefs. So I'm going to fade Russell Gage. Who do you got as the fade?
I'm going to fade Tom Brady. And let's hope that the receivers are back and everything gets improved, and the thing will improve. But the receiving score is still less than 100%. You know, Brady's struggling to throw. He's thrown one touchdown pass in every game. I don't think, he's thrown for 215 yards like once. Like, there's nothing here going on at the moment right now. The guys getting around him, returning Evans, that kind of thing help. But I'm fading him this week. I'm not starting him.
Yeah, fading him like his cheeks have been fading for the last few years. He's becoming really skeletal, isn't he?
He's looking a lot like me. He's getting...
My cheeks have been filling out now for a decade. Tom Brady's have been like whittling away to nothing. Yeah. Cheeks, of all things, cheeks are shrinking. An interesting thing to lose weight in. And I'm not talking about back cheeks. These cheeks. The actual cheeks. Watchability. I'll be honest, Ray, a lot of people are going to love this matchup. I get it. I'm going with a 4. I'm a little tired of both these teams. Is that fair? Like, I'm kind of a loser. I'm kind of a jerk, not a loser, just a jerk. Why can't I appreciate greatness? I'll give it a 4. I will be watching, but this matchup doesn't have me like amped. Like I'm setting up my whole Sunday for the Chiefs.
Right. I'll give it a 4 too. And I think a lot of it has to do with Brady and all the stuff. Was he going to play? Was he going to play? He's coming back. They're off the field. It's just, it's a lot. When a guy is in your face 24 hours a day, it's a lot.
Okay, Ray, time to make our picks against the spread. And I think last week, remember, we only did the 15 games. I was 9-6, and I think you were 8-7.
Okay.
So it was our first week, and there was a tie in there. So maybe I was 8-6-1, and Ray, I think you were 7-7-1.
Okay.
But we count that as 500. We're making up ground. We had a very rough first 2 weeks. We were better in week 3. Let's get these picks. We will start with the Vikings and the Saints. Vikings favored by 3. I think these injuries affect the Saints. Give me the Vikings.
I will take the Saints. Ooh, and that's tough.
How about the Giants favored by 3 against the Bears? I consider this a near toss-up. I don't know which way to go. Because I'm getting 3 points by taking the underdog, I'll take the Bears of all things.
Oh, wow. I'm going with your team. I'm taking the Giants.
My team?
Yeah, they're your team, the Giants.
I just picked them as a sleeper in the NFC East. They're not my... Hey, Ray, once they lost Sterling Shepard, always lost.
Oh, that's fair. Good call. Yeah.
Let's see. Philly hosting Jacksonville. Eagles by 6.5. It's tough to stop this Eagles train right now. And I think Jacksonville, I get it. They were great last week. There's a little bit of interest in them. I think the Eagles are going to stamp that out. Give me Philadelphia to cover.
Yeah, take that home team, the Eagles.
Buffalo and Baltimore. Bills favored by 3. I think the Bills rebound. They should have won last week. They're still the best team in the AFC. Give me the Bills.
Agree with both that, and I am, as I noted, concerned about that defensive backfield of the Ravens.
Give me Houston as an underdog, Ray. 5.5-point dogs home against the Chargers, who got walloped by the Jags. I think Houston has it this week.
I don't think that's correct. I'm going with the Chargers. They'll rebound.
Cleveland's favored by a point on the road in Atlanta. Where do you go?
Cleveland.
Okay, you got Cleveland. I'm going to go, this one's tough, Atlanta. Detroit favored by 3.5 against the Seahawks. Give me the Lions.
Lions.
Colts favored by 3.5 against the Titans. Give me the Colts.
Colts.
Cowboys favored by 3 against the Commanders. I'm taking the boys.
Cowboys.
3.5-point favorite Steelers against the Jets. I'll take Steel City, Pittsburgh.
Give me the Steel Curtain.
-1 Panthers, a slight pick over visiting Arizona.
Arizona. The home team ain't winning this one.
Arizona, too.
Yeah.
Packers are favored by 9. Biggest spread of the week is that one. By 9 against the Patriots, I'll go Green Bay.
I'll go Green Bay as well.
Raiders by 2.5 against the Broncos. I have Denver winning this one outright.
Denver as well.
Kansas City and Tampa, that is a 1-point differential. Bucks and Chiefs. Give me Chiefs.
I'll take the Chiefs as well.
And then finally, Monday night, San Francisco favored by 2 against the Rams. San Francisco, Ray, to get the win.
I wish it was, but I'm going with the Rams.
Okay. I know our producer, Heather Klein's going to be like, you guys went way too fast. What were your picks? Get us on demand, Heather. Our thanks to Heather Klein and Jared Moore. Corey Nando and friends, they're up next.
Network.
Tua rolling to his left, stops.